Here we are. Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome. It is another Saturday night. Can you believe it? Can you believe it? And I got marks all over my face. You're finding out why I hardly ever shave, because my skin is so sensitive, and every time I shave it, I get cuts all over my face. So all good. Here we are. Let's go to comments, see how everybody's doing. Nice. We got 17 people in here already. Sweet. Mythological Muse, there you are. Hello. Hi, Shan. Hi, Bam Bamoody. Nice. Hi, Chase. You were here early, buddy. Nice work. You and Scott got here like crack of dawn. Couldn't believe it. I set up the stream, and within like 30 seconds, you guys were already in there, and I hadn't even gone live yet. So well done. Well done. We got some good stuff today, guys. I got some good meaty stuff for you today. Hi, Clueless. Welcome. Ooh, Clueless, you changed your sign. Nice. The Aum. Nice. Nice. Have you ever heard Joseph Campbell elucidate Aum? It is incredible. I should find that for you. Yeah, we are. We are all nature creatures. Hi, Valerie. Welcome. It's a beautiful name, Valerie. I like that. Hey, Catman. Nice. Welcome. Hello. Hello. Obi. I wonder if you're the Obi that I know, or if you're a different Obi. I missed the Zoom because I crashed my car. Oh, this has got to be the Obi. Hey, man. I'm sorry, dude. I hope you're okay. First of all, I hope you're okay. I hope everything's okay. I hope who you crashed into is okay. And I hope your car's going to be okay. I'm sorry to hear that, friend. Car accidents are the worst. I've been in 4 of them, and they are horrible. I got T-boned one time. I was, let's see, the middle passenger. This was when I was 16. I was the middle passenger. I was in my friend John's truck, and my other friend Chris. I was riding in the middle, and my other friend Chris was on that would have been my right side, and we got T-boned. A drunk driver was doing about 40 miles an hour and T-boned right into the side of us. And I slammed in my friend Chris, who smashed his head into the windshield, but and got kind of bruised up from it. But no really permanent injuries, just beat up. And then I got hit by a drunk driver with my sister Carissa when I was in 8th grade, and he was doing like 50 miles an hour and screwed up my my sister's neck. And I flew all the way back, crushed the back seat, all the way to the back seat, and then my head flew forward. And before I had even known anything had happened, there was this huge dent in the dashboard where my head had hit, and I don't even remember hitting the dash. So car accidents suck. So I hope you're okay, buddy. Hope you're doing okay. Who else is here? Hey, Twilight Mist, welcome. 9mm, nice. Well done, sir. Welcome. Glad you're here. Chuck Student. Yes, dude. I love that name. Oh my God, you caught me so off guard last week with that. That was fantastic. Road trip, nice. Hello, Texas. How do you like Texas? I lived there for 15 years, man. I had my fill. A lot of really nice, good people there, but the weather is just, the pits, the absolute pits. I'm glad you're okay, buddy. Nice. I'm glad you're okay. Hello, redhead. Nice. Tom, Tom, you are crazy. I like that. You know, I did. I got good news for you, friend. I got good news for you. So check this out. If you go to my Rumble page, there are actually 3 more movies for you. I did God Eaters 1 and 2, and then I did a 3rd called 3A, and that got banned within an hour of my posting it on YouTube. And they told me at YouTube, if I ever posted a video like that again, that they would cancel my channel. And so way back, let's see, this was 2024. Yeah, December in 2024, I finished God Eaters 3A, 3B, and 3C. And you've got 3 videos for you, my friend. That's the good news. So if you go to Rumble, or if you go to Odyssey, or even if you go to X, but X has horrible, like how to find people's videos is horrible on X, but you could find it there too. on my page. But there are 3 videos, 3A, 3B, and 3C, and they focus on mind control from the CIA, Satanism, and why the Satanists used the Khazarian mafia to control the world. Yeah. The Khazarian mafia pose as Jews, but they're not Jews. They're not Jews. They're fake Jews. They put on the costume of being a Jew when the Russians forced them around 800 AD, 1000 AD, something like that, forced them to pick Judaism, Christianity, or Islam. And they chose Judaism, but they didn't become Jews. They just put that on as a pseudo cover. And the Hasidics now have this same satanic bloodline in it. And they are the ones who sacrifice the kids. I even showed you guys, I've shown you guys paintings that were done in the 17th century showing the Khazarians drinking the blood of children. So this is very old. This is very old. Here we are. I've been in several car crashes, but they were from off-roading. Oh, good times though. Off-roading is a lot of fun. I've done that a couple times. It's a lot of fun. Yeah, Canada. Shout out, big time. Oh, that's one of my favorite dogs right there. Yes. Fantastic. I love that puppy in that picture. That's fantastic. I love dogs and I love cats. And go with the flow. Heck yeah. Go with the flow. Known by heart. Nice. Hello, friend. Oh, you also got a great puppy right there. Nice lab. Black lab. Good choice. Great dog. Outstanding dog. Labrador retriever. They are outstanding. We're going to get going here in about 5 minutes. We're going to roll with this. I'm here. Don't worry. I'm here. It's all good. It's all good. Hello. Look at this one. So cushion, but Sue. I don't even know what that means. So cushion, but Sue. Welcome. Hey, King. Glad you're here, buddy. Welcome. Hopefully we will contain things this week. Got kind of crazy last week. Hopefully you guys will contain things this week. Nice. Sweet. 1985. Let's see. My sister Colleen graduated in 84. I graduated in 88. I was a sophomore in high school in 85. In fact, I met my wife in 86 when I was 16. Pretty cool. Pretty cool that. Heck yeah. Vancouver Island. Heck yeah. Hello, Canada. Heck yeah. Here we are. Hey, King. Yeah. It is, isn't it? You know, the funny thing is, I had God Eaters 3D just about done. And it focused directly on Michael Aquino and Satanism, hardcore Satanism. It was going to be rough. And it's hard to go through that stuff. And so I never ended up posting. I never ended up making it. I never made the video. I was working on my nature series and I had a video totally done and I was going to post it the next week. And I started doing live and it took over and I never got around to editing it. So anyway, yeah, good times there. You bet. You bet. I hope you enjoy it. You bet. I hope you enjoy it. Yeah, it's in Rumble. Exactly. It's in Rumble. You can find 3A, B, and C in Rumble. Hey, Gretchen. Welcome. Glad to see you, love. We are almost there. 1:37. We're starting at 4:40. I've got 20 minutes this week of Swimming Headless from Alan Watts for you guys. And it is just awesome. And I have a dude that's going to make the most gorgeous coffee, one of the most gorgeous coffee tables you'll ever see in your life. It is stunning. It is stunning. So it's really a good time today. I got that coming up. 4th episode from Astrotheology. Awesome. There's a lot of good stuff in the Astrotheology series. It'll really help you understand our background and history as far as religion is concerned. You'll find out why we got caught up in Babylonian money magic, Babylonian spiritual magic, dominator culture. The Astrotheology series will show you where Ra, the idea of Ra, came from, Molech, or Moloch. We'll show you the origins of Moloch. Baal, the cult of Baal. In fact, the cult of Baal map was the centerpiece of the astrotheology set. So there's some really good insight in that series for folks that are looking to understand where religion came from, where the idea of a monotheistic God came from. That didn't originate with the Catholic Church. That originated, as far as I know, with Egypt and Ra and Akhenaten, who decided that they were just going to worship the one singular God, or one singular God that was the God over all gods. You know, they're just obsessed. Dominator cultures are obsessed with hierarchy and positioning people into pools. And this way, you always keep people that are not in leadership out of leadership, and the leaders decide what people are, determine their identity, and determine the vector of the society. And since we all come out of dominator culture, male dominance, patriarchy, greed, usurpation, destruction, war, conflict, these are all synonyms for dominator culture. And I did a whole chapter in my book on dominator culture, and then we also talked a lot about dominator culture and astrotheology. Great comment. Awesome. I hope you like the series. Never in my life. You are a madman, Obi. Never. I have never done 12. That's pretty crazy, man. That would be a pretty crazy ride. That sounds a little bit like Paul Stamets. He did, what did Paul do on his trip? And he climbed up that tree. Remember his story? He climbed up the tree and he was in the major storm. Can you imagine? He was tripping on I think it was 10 grams, and he climbed up a tree in the middle of a rainstorm, and he had this epiphany of being one with nature, but at the same time he was frightened to death because he was hanging on for dear life onto a pine tree, and he was swinging back. Can you imagine tripping and you're at the top of a pine tree and swinging back and forth in the middle of a rainstorm with thunder? I mean, dude, no joke. So yeah, 12 grams, that's crazy. Absolutely crazy. That is exactly right. The world has been run, not only ruined, but has been run by the Khazarian Mafia. They are the ones who set up all of the establishments for society. It was Khazarian Mafia members that established the Western medical system, a family called the Rockefellers. You guys have probably heard of them. They usurped the Western medical system, which was focusing on plant medicines and homeopathy, which had come out of ancient times, and shamanism. And Rockefeller decided that we were going to be based on petrochemicals. And then based on, what was that stuff they sprayed in the 40s during the war? What was that stuff called? And they sprayed that anti-plant stuff all over Agent Orange. And they sprayed Agent Orange. And that was the beginning, the invention of chemotherapy. And chemotherapy has, it has probably killed more lives than people who've had cancer. And so all of our systems, our governmental systems, our judicial systems, our oversight systems, the governorships of states, all of these things have been infiltrated by the Khazarian Mafia. In fact, the entire world is run by them. And so what you see happening right now with the major changes and the resistance that you see happening from justice, like you see people that we see reports of crimes, of people committing crimes, and you see all kinds of, here's a good example. We have Ghislaine Maxwell, who was convicted and put into prison for her involvement in child trafficking. All right, she was convicted, meaning that they brought forward evidence that a jury looked at in a court of law, and based on the evidence brought forward, she was put into jail. Okay, well, It wasn't Ghislaine Maxwell all by herself with no one else in the entire world involved that was committing these crimes. She had people she worked with who were buying the people, who were selling the people, the children, the women. And she orchestrated it. Okay, so we have her in prison convicted, but none of the people that she was convicted for being involved with and for the crime she committed have even been arrested in public. They might have been arrested in private. But as far as the public's concerned and what the public knows in general, none of those people have been brought forward. So you can see, the reason I bring that up is you can see the resistance, and we got to get going here. You can see the resistance, can't you? Of the Khazari Mafia who've been running the world. And you can see them resisting. You can see them not wanting to get caught. You can see when they present evidence of actual crimes, documents of actual crimes, and the names on the documents of the criminals, and they're not even questioned. Or they're questioned and brought before, we've seen it all. They're brought before the Congress, and they have a hearing, right? And, oh, we're going to get these people, and, oh, here's all these crimes, and you can't do that, and, oh, we're going to get you. And then nothing happens. Nothing happens. You've seen it 1,000 times. We've all seen it. So you guys know that there's a great resistance right now to any justice being served. And that's the Khazarian Mafia. That's the Khazarian Mafia. Here we go. What you got? Hi, Chuck. Have you made a video about your own story and how you came to your insights, research, and conclusions? Sorry if you have. I'm relatively new to this channel. Typically, what I do in the videos that I released, as far as the KM is concerned, is I showed all of the evidence and the books, the production. I show you in the video what I used. And then there's also just, you guys know, you're on Rumble, YouTube, Odyssey, some type of video server, and you'll come across videos that render evidence to you, but you never take the time to organize it and write it down, all stuff. You just are fed these things. And so a lot of times you're able to gather a lot of insight just doing your due diligence and persistently pursuing information. And with time, you'll begin to pull together a logical path of patterns. Truth is rendered in patterns. It's not rendered in words. Truth is truth is rendered in experience and patterns. And if you spend enough time diligently pursuing insight, knowledge, the light, these types of things, if you do that, you will begin to become what's called self-aware. You'll begin to understand the world from a deeper and deeper perspective, because you're not believing the mainstream and you're not believing just anything you're told. And so that was really the basis for my work. But on the Khazarian Mafia videos, if you watch the first two, I really go into I really do. I really show you how I got that information. I show you the quotes. I show you the locations of where I got everything. So all of that is available to you so that you can also pursue on your own, which is what I want you to do. I don't want you to believe me. I want you to take the thoughts that I have and then pursue truth on your own, through your own experience and through your own pattern finding. And because that's really the only truth you're going to believe or integrate into your life, is that which you derive yourself, not which you're told. Make sense? Okay, I got an awesome movie for you guys, and then we're going to get going. Here we go. You guys ready? I'm glad you're here. Okay, here we go. I'm going to show you. This is our about 20-minute prelude. I will see you guys just after 5, but I'm going to watch this here with you. Are you guys ready? Here we go.
Bob, Given what you've been saying, what is the purpose of our playing here? What are we here for?
Well, that's absurdly easy. And I say absurd because it's so apparent once you begin to look at it with what I call a different overview, from another perspective. Look at it. It's best described as you come here as a vortex of energy, and I might add as an alien to this Earth life system. You don't belong here, so you try to change it. Humans try to change it. They don't like the way trees are planted, so they plant them in rows when this system says do it this way, and they want it a nice straight. That's typical of humankind. But why do we come to this thing we call the Earth and live on Earth and be human? Very, very fascinating but obvious answer. And the more you look at it, the more obvious it becomes to you. And that is that you came here to learn. Now, what did you come to learn? These are nice, neat questions. What did you come to learn? You came to learn a measurement system. This is a system of opposites, of polarities, and we quickly give them labels like positive and negative, good, bad, these kinds of things. We learn this measurement system, very important. We learn it, the system of measurement. And a great system of measurement that we learn is pain, pleasure. And we know, how in the world could you know pleasure if you didn't know pain? The most boring thing that you could do is have a very even life with no pain or no pleasure. You couldn't stand it. You've got to have these, and we search for those pain and pleasure things. We go out of our way to do it. So if you think in terms of the whole concept of living here to learn measurements, now that's the first. The second is very interesting, is that you learn to manipulate energy. I move my arms like this, my hands, I move my eyes and so on. I'm manipulating energy to do that. That's a use of 5 or 6 types of energy that let me move my arm. And we learn these very automatically. And I can tell you from deep personal experience that that simple ability that we take so much for granted of learning to manipulate energy is incredibly valuable in other energy systems. You'd be amazed how much value that we think are ordinary things. Keeping your balance, for example. We automatically learn how to stay balanced in this gravitic pattern. But over there, it's wonderful. You can use these kinds of things. So these are the 2 key things, but the most important thing of all. We come here to learn and acquire an intellect. It's strange. An intellect. And we acquire, intelligence is not enough of the word, an intellect, an analytical ability. We come here to learn that. We use the metaphor left brain. We learn to acquire a left brain by living here and being here. That's the real valuable tool that we come and pick up. So you think that combination puts together a being that is a super being, and that's true.
Now, this morning I was giving you a talk on the fundamental basic attitudes expressed in Lao Tzu's Tao Te Ching. And the title of the book, Tao Te Ching, introduces now the second word in the title. I've been dwelling this morning on the first word, which is Tao, and so comes up this second word, De. And this word, again, faces us with some serious problems of translation. ordinarily translated virtue. But virtue, as we understand it today, isn't at all appropriate. The nearest kind of, when we speak of the healing virtues of a plant, that's nearer to the meaning of this word, dirt. The Japanese pronounce it toku, the Cantonese duck, and the northern Mandarins approximately de. And in the section of the Lao Tzu where this is really introduced, the text says something like this: superior virtue, not virtue, thus it has virtue. Inferior virtue can't let go of virtue, thus not virtue. And we more or less paraphrase that by translating, superior virtue is not conscious of itself as virtue, and therefore it is virtue. But inferior virtue is so hooked up with being virtuous, or hooked on being virtuous, that it's not virtue. Now then, therefore, this word is a connection of virtue and magic. It means the excellence of things, in the sense that a tree excels at being a tree, and nobody really knows how it does it. There is no way of imitating a tree, except the only thing is to be one. And so in the same way, when a human being shows extraordinary skill at something, it seems that it comes natural to him. It seems that he doesn't achieve it by any kind of artificiality. If there is some discipline in it, it's concealed. So, excelling in something naturally, and yet it's something that is so difficult to understand that it seems that it has been done by magic, is the meaning of this word. So what da is the state of affairs, a way of talking about particularly a human being who has learned to live in harmony with the Tao. Now, of course, everything is fundamentally in harmony with the Tao. In the book called the Zhongyong, or the Unwobbling Pivot, it is said, the Tao is that from which nothing can depart. That from which things can depart is not the Tao. Fundamentally, you see, you can't get away from it. It's like a situation in which we are all floating in a tremendous river. And the river carries you along, anyhow. Now, some of the people in the river are swimming against it, but they're still being carried along. Others have learned that the art of the thing is to swim with it. And they're carried along too. But they know it, you see. They know they're carried along, whereas the people who are swimming against it think they're going in the opposite direction. But they're not really. So that was a sort of discussion we were having this morning, when I find invariably, whenever I talk about these things, Americans raise moral issues because we are a people incredibly bamboozled by preachers. And so this always comes up. Bamboozled. Preachers. Yes. And have chronic guilty consciences. And so those questions are always raised. But this, you see, explains part of this situation. That you have to flow with the river. There is no other way. But that you can swim against it and pretend not to be flowing with it, but you still are. So, but a person who is not making that pretense anymore, who knows that you have to go with the river and swim with it, suddenly he acquires behind everything that he does the power of the river. The person swimming against the river, you see, does not by his action express the force of the river. The person swimming with it, he goes along and he has that whole river behind him, but he's subtly directing it, because you can change direction in the course of the river. You can go to the left or to the right, as a ship can use a rudder and still go along with the current, or more skillful still, as a sailboat can tack. Because when a sailboat tacks and goes in a direction contrary to the wind, it still is using the wind to blow it along. Now that is the most highly skillful art of all. That is Taoism in perfection, the art of sailing. Very intelligent. I remember once I was looking in the open air, and one of those glorious little thistledown things came, and I picked it up like that and brought it down, and it looked as if it was struggling to get away, just as if you caught an insect by one leg, like a daddy long legs or something of that kind. It seemed to be struggling to get away, and at first I thought, well, it's not doing that. That's just the wind blowing. But then I thought again, really? Only the wind blowing? Surely it is the structure of this thing which, in cooperation with the existence of wind, enables it to move like an animal, but using the wind's effort, not its own. It is more intelligent being than an insect, in a way, because an insect uses effort. Like a person who rows a boat uses effort, but the man who puts up a sail is using magic. He lets nature do it for him with the intelligence to use a sail, you see? So in just this way, the meaning of de is that kind of intelligence which, without your using very much effort, gets everything to cooperate with you. You, for example, never force other people to agree with you, but you give them the notion that the idea you wanted them to have was their own. This is a feminine art, preeminently. A woman who really wants a lover does not pursue him, because then most men feel that she's aggressive. And if she's aggressive, she obviously is a woman who has had difficulty in finding lovers, and therefore there must be some undesirably secret thing about her. But if she, as it were, makes a void, then, and is slightly difficult to get, then people get excited. They know she's a highly prized object, and so they pursue. Same way, when you want to teach a baby to swim, the thing you can do is to put the baby in the water and then move backwards in the water and create a vacuum. And this pulls the baby along. It helps it to learn the feel of the water and how to swim. It's the same principle. So, also, clever, difficult to getness is one of the very best means of acquiring immense publicity. Let's take the case of T.E. Lawrence, who published the 7 Pillars of Wisdom in a limited edition. And this became an extraordinarily celebrated book. It cost hundreds of dollars a copy to find one, on the market. And they waited and waited and built this up and built this up and built this up, and finally they published the general edition. And it was a knockout, because the first one had been sort of secret and difficult to find. If you have patience, you see, you can always do this. So the whole art of the ruler, you see, the Tao Te Ching is a book written for several purposes. You may take it as a guide to mystical understanding of the universe. you may take it as a dissertation on the principles of nature, almost a naturalistic, a handbook of natural law, we would say. Or you may also take it as a political book, a book of wisdom for governors. And the principle which it advocates, basically, is the virtue of governing by not ruling. Look at it in this way. Supposing the President of the United States were as unknown to you by name as the local sanitary inspector, the man who looks after the drains and the sewage disposal and all that kind of thing. This is not a glamorous figure, you see. But for that very reason, he probably does his job more efficiently than the President, because the President wastes enormous amount of time in interviewing various groups from the Elks and the Girl Scouts and conferring honors and all this kind of thing. The poor man's life must be an utter torment because he's so well known and therefore has absolutely no time to give to the government of the country. I mean, think of his mail and all the people who have to be employed sifting that out and assessing it, so that if he were someone quite anonymous and that we didn't have to think about it, he would be a very, very good ruler. In just the same way, for example, you don't have to attend, unless you're sick, to the government of your own body. It happens automatically. This is this expression, Ziran, of itself, and it goes on day after day after day, and the better it is, the less you have to think about it. When you see well, you do not see your eyes. If there is something wrong with your eyes, you start seeing spots, and those spots are spots in your eyes. When you hear well, you never hear your ears. But when they start singing, you know, then you're starting to hear your ears, and your ears are getting in the way of their own hearing. So on the deepest level, a person as a whole can get in the way of his own existence by becoming too aware of himself. And then he lacks this quality, dearth. Now, the Taoists then propose that there be something to help people get back to Tao and to be able to be in a state of dearth, so that they wouldn't get in their own way. And this is connected with the idea of being empty. Emptiness, being somehow vacant, was the secret of the thing. The highest kind of knowledge is not know-how, but know-how, N-O-H-O-W. To be able to do it know-how, without any method. To achieve this, something is practiced which is called fasting the heart. The heart, in Chinese, is a word which doesn't mean heart in the physiological sense. You see, it's part of the De character. Shin. It's usually located about here, and it means heart-mind. It's equivalently translated as mind, and in all the Zen texts where the word mind is used, no mind, mushin, it is this character. The psychic center. Now, the best kind of heart is absence of heart. In English, the word heartless has a very bad connotation, as does the word mindless. A heartless person is an inconsiderate, unfeeling person. A mindless person is an idiot. But a person who has mushin, or no mind, or no heart in Chinese, is a very high order of person. It means that his psychic center doesn't get in its own way. It operates as if it wasn't there. Zhuangzi says that the highest form of man uses his shin like a mirror. It grasps nothing, it refuses nothing, it receives but does not keep. And the poem says, when the geese fly over the water, and they are reflected in the water, that the geese do not intend to cast their reflection, and the water has no mind to retain their image. So, the whole thing is, you see, to operate in the world as if you were absent.
Right on. Yeah, very cool. Here, there. Hey, y'all. Welcome. Don't you just love listening to Alan? He's the best, man. He's the best. Some of, I was reading comments as he was talking, and obviously some of his social comments don't match with the developing society now, but his core essence and what he was pointing to does. And so, yeah, I always really enjoy listening to him. Welcome. Glad that you're here. You are watching, to let everybody know where we're at, you are watching Zen Week 11, and today is January the 3rd. Did everybody have a good New Year's? I hope so. I was glad to read in comments that people have found a place of peace here, and I'm really happy to hear that. I would like to continue to provide that. And yeah, I really love to see you guys talking to each other in chat. It's very heartwarming, and I like it. I like the honesty, and I like it when people say stuff they like, and when they say stuff that they don't agree with. That's fantastic. Here we are. Yeah, Bob, it's so good to have you, buddy. I'm glad you're here. Welcome, Australia. All my Australian friends, someday I will meet you. I will find my way there, and I will meet you guys. That would be incredible. Okay, so we have some meaty stuff for you tonight. Or I should say I have some meaty stuff for you tonight. But we got some stuff we got to cover out on the front end. And so I'm going to, first of all, here. Okay. Oh, of course I left Bob's comment up. Of course. It wouldn't be Chuck if I didn't leave a comment up. Come on now. Here we are. Jeepers. Okay. Here. Okay. So, let's get it. Let's do this. Let's get. Okay. Why am I not on stage? Here. Get me on stage. Sorry, guys. Sorry. I'm still learning this navigation nonsense. Okay. I'm very sorry. All right. So last week, I just wanted to mention to you guys that last week I got muted a couple of times when I went to these other slides. Like when I would add something to stage, it would mute me. And so when I went to do something like this, you guys couldn't hear me anymore. So I'm hoping that I'm still here and you can hear me. But what I wanted to mention before we get going here was a couple of things. First of all, on Monday night, I realized I was exactly 13 years from moving to Washington from Frisco, Texas. And my 13th year living in Texas, I contracted cancer. So I am in the same position in time that I was back when I moved to Texas. And it was quite poignant for me to have that moment because right now we're in the middle of a major bifurcation. And this is a new epoch for all of us. And it was incredible to me to realize that it was exactly 13 years after moving to Texas that I contracted cancer. And now it's exactly 13 years after Washington that I now have this live. And talk about from death comes life. I mean, if that's not poignancy in your own life, I don't I don't know what is. And you guys are an essential part of that and reason that I'm here. So I just wanted to take a moment to say thank you. The second thing is I know a lot of you wonder why I'm not involved in Discord and why I'm not on the Telegram channel that a number of the folks here in chat have worked on. And it is simply a matter of time. I don't know if y'all realize the amount of time that is spent developing these slides every week. And I develop somewhere on the order of 25 or so slides every single week. And it's all brand new material, brand new thought, brand new concepts. And it is a lot of work. And I'm not saying any of that to complain. I'm saying that to say, I have to maintain a life outside of the computer or I will go insane. And as much time as I have to spend researching, talking with AI, reading books, doing the necessary diligence to develop the slides, I wouldn't have a life if I also was involved in Discord and Telegram, as well as that's also been part of the reason why my swag has been delayed, is because I'm very involved in this series and I don't have a lot of time. And so to maintain sanity, I just simply have chosen not to become involved in the Discord or Telegram. It's not that I don't like them. It's not that I don't appreciate them. It's not that I think it's crazy or any of that. It is purely because of time. And so just so you guys know, that's what's really keeping me out of that space. And one final thing I'm going to show you. This is a picture of me when I was 4 years old. There I am. And I know that I'm at church because I know the dude on the left there in the red suit would not be wearing a bow tie to school. So I know that I am in church. But I thought, wasn't it funny? Look at my hand positions. You guys never see me do this, do you? And I thought when I saw this photo, I thought that's exactly what I do all the time in live. So I thought that was funny. Just wanted to share that with you guys. Okay. So to begin, first slide here. Let's get it up here on this other one here so I can jump between. There. Take that out. Add to stage. Okay, now, as you guys know, while we've been walking through this Zen series, and I touched on it a little bit in my other series like Nature and Astrotheology, but I mentioned that we are moving into an entirely different mythology. That's what's happening in society right now. We are moving out of the, as I mentioned earlier, the dominator, the hierarchical patriarchy that has been running the entire planet since this inception of this body. And so because that's the case, we've been working with mythologies that are oriented, here I'll just make myself bigger, we are working with mythologies that are oriented to a type of society that is not humane. So the mythologies we've been working on have been coming through dominator culture and dominator systems. That's why the way the Western religions are set up is that you have this authority, this hierarchy, and you can't question that hierarchy, and there's nothing you could do about it. That's your authority. And then you are to play the subservient serving role underneath that authority. And that has been the ethos that has come out of the dominator culture that we come from, the warring tribes, the usurpation, the destruction of humanity. And so the mythologies that were developed support a dominator, hierarchy, male dominant society. They're set up that way. That's why the Western God is a male God. You would never talk about Yahweh as a female. You would never do that in the Western context. You would never call Allah a female. You would never do that. And it's because these come out of dominator cultures. And the Islamic mythology, the Christian mythology, the Judeo mythology, right? These are mythologies that keep the society subservient in a state of lack and need, reaching outward, asking permission, seeking approval, expecting reproof. These are the mythologies that come out of that society. And right now, that has to change, because we are moving into a humane society, a partnership-oriented culture. That's where we're going. And the transition is very bloody, nasty, and horrid. The transition doesn't look anything like where we're going, because we're leaving the bloodbath that we come from. And so it's a bloodbath to get out of that. It's like that quote, you vote your way into socialism, you shoot your way out. And it's the same thing. It's the same exact thing happening right now. And so we have to fall under a different mythology, a different ontological orientation than what we have been on. Because if we stay in the same ontology, you see, we remain subservient, we remain separated, we remain in a hierarchy, male dominant oriented society. We stay there unless we leave the mythology. And this actually leads, instead of going to that slide right now, this actually leads right to my logo that I've made, that you guys know all about. Here, I'll get it so that you can see me. Here. Add to stage, get out here. Okay. And the reason why I developed this logo is because it represents a new, humane, human, nature-oriented mythology. Okay? And every single symbol within this logo has meaning, depth, weight. It's like looking at an alchemical drawing, and you're seeing weird vessels and colors and people burning something on a fire and smoke coming out and stuff. It's not the painting, it's what the painting is pointing towards that matters. Okay? And so we are moving into a landscape, a vector, a picture that is very different than the one that we grew up in. And it starts here in the center of my logo. And just so you guys know, symbols always face the observer. So that's why I have there where it's, when you look at it, it's the left, and I have right side, and you're like, Chuck, why do you have this backward, man? You got the right on the left, left, right. No, I don't. No, I don't. Symbols appear as you look at them. So it's like a racing car when you take it from the driver's perspective. So when the driver says on my right, okay, that's going to be on the right side of the car as the driver is sitting. But if you're facing the car, it's left. But the orientation for the engineers, the orientation for understanding and working on the car is driver perspective. It's the same thing with symbols. Okay, so the right side is your viewing left, but that's the right-hand side. Okay, and the same with the left, and this has meaning. This is symbolism. The right-hand side is the course of action. It is the way of action. It is the way of fire, transformation. That's the right side. That happens in the earthly realm. That's why the earth is on the right side. And then you have the moon side, the left side, which is air, which can instantly transform. Water, which is knowledge and love. These are the things that undergird fire and earth. You see, and all of this is a part and parcel of the ether there at the top. So starting from the center, the gold disc there that I have there is the lux natura, the light of nature. That's what lux natura is. God, the ineffable flow that permeates, animates, and undergirds all things. And then you see right there in the middle of the gold disc is the black void, which is spontaneity. This is the left side. Spontaneity, rapture, destruction, and unconscious. See, it contains all. The gold disc contains both the right-hand side, action, light, right? And then you have the left-hand side, underworld, unconscious. On the left-hand side, the black void, that which undergirds all things, right? Next, the tree of life. The Yggdrasil tree represents light incarnated. The effect of spirit is matter. This intuits the aphorism, as above, so below. The world, life, existence is contrastive, not conflictive. It composes holism. Holism is both good and bad, right and wrong, light and darkness. That's holism, not consumption. Because all of life is filled. There's no lack. There's nothing missing. So there's no consumption because nothing is hungry and nothing is full. You see, everything is in equilibrium. Good and evil are portions of the same wholeism, which creates the illusion of dualism in your non-existent mind. That's what the tree represents. Nature, balance, as above, so below. You see the trees, branches, and leaves match the rhizosphere of the roots. These things are one. They are expressions of the same thing in contrasting form. The ring, that black-white ring, the black and white ring represents the veil of dualism, which is the illusion of the universe that keeps the mind trapped in the world of opposites. Life is to transcend the hallucination of conflict, so to experience the lux natura, the flow, the ineffable contrasts of the here and now. So you are trapped when you're born here in the idea of illusion, and you learn to think that the world that you're in and the world that you're experiencing is real. It's not. It's a product of the mind, and the mind doesn't exist. If you think the mind exists, please show me your mind. Please take a picture of your mind and send it to me. You can't, because the mind doesn't exist. So the world that we live in is the world of illusion. It is a classroom. It is a place to learn from and experience and gather knowledge and information, so that when you pass away, you have this treasure trove of all these life experiences that have taught you truth through patterns. That's why you're here. Just like Robert Monroe said at the beginning of the video. You're here to learn, you're here to grow, you're here to expand. And this is how you do this, by realizing that you are in an illusion. You are in an illusion, and you're to learn from it, not become entangled in it. If you become entangled in it, you become anxious and filled with anxiety. And that's your fault, because you've believed that you're in a real world and are allowing that world to consume you. And remember, nothing can be consumed in the holism. So the self-consumption is your own pathology. You follow? And the whole idea is to escape the pathology of being tied into the world as it is seen. The world is a metaphor for a much larger complexity that undergirds it, namely the ether. And so the ring here is the idea, the white ring is to escape, to leave the world of illusion, so that you can experience the profundity of the world's past, this one in your mind. You see, that's why it's that out of mind experience, the headless. That's what Alan was talking about in the video beforehand. The headless person is the wise person, because they're not in their own way. Their mind has dissolved, like kenosis, has melted into the spiritual essence that is the true reality. The spiritual world is the real world. Polygons, that's those little polygons, colored polygons just outside the black and white ring. That is the existence past the world of dualism, the world of profundity and opportunity. The lines create polygons which elicit sacred geometry. Remember, it's sacred geometry that is the manifestation of spirit in material reality. Sacred geometry, opportunity, development, rapture, and essence. This is the world within worlds. Black polygons are opportunity, while colored, moments of rapture in the deeper persistence. Do you see? I am pointing to, in this logo, the deeper essence that is past the world of illusion that is in your mind. And that is the point of metaphors. Metaphors point to the world, the larger world that is outside of your mind, that is past your mind. That is where metaphors are pointing towards. And this is where you will find release, passion, motivation, encouragement, transformation, because it's the larger world that is undergirding the illusion that you're in. So you embed yourself in that larger world while remaining present in this world. And that is the trick. That is the trick of the Eastern spiritual essence, realizing you're in an illusion, but having reverence and love for that illusion so that you can learn from it and become a more extraordinary soul, you could say, after this life. Absolutely brilliant. Okay, then the circle of circles, that's all the little colored circles you see. This is the multiverse, galaxies, balance, equilibrium, and like Gnosticism or Taoism, renders realities beyond comprehension or fathomability. I mean, imagine trying to imagine many trillions of universes. You couldn't, it's too big. Honoring the material flow of nature, it also points to the flow which can't be crowned, named, or cognized. Again, the world past words. Now, fire is destroying. We move to the right side, the deeper symbolism in the sides of the symbol. Fire is destroying, earth is fostering, water is nurturing, air is transforming, and ether is transcending. You see? Each has a role, just like you have a role. Same idea. You are an outpouring of the ether, just like fire, water, air, earth is an outpouring of the ether. One and the same. One and the same. You see? And when you see there's no separation, you will then equate yourself, you will balance yourself, you will amalgamate with nature. And you're a nature creature, so this brings fulfillment. That's how you remove the anxiety. These effective geometries transform spirit density into matter effect. Nature adorns the platonic solids as jewels, creating a universe to be seen, enjoyed, and known. These form from the ether, manifest the world of patterns that elicit truth. Brilliant. The right side, the sun side, the action side, is the action or effect side. Fire burns away chaff, the dross of life that is no longer relevant and must reform. The earth grounds everything and presents a surface to build, meaning you are building a reality within the illusion, a garden to cultivate. See, these are metaphors. The building, the garden, the plant, these are metaphors for the deeper sense. That's why you involve yourself in these things. And a landscape to enjoy the sensorial world, exactly to enjoy it. We're here to enjoy the sensorial world, joys and pains of life intercourse until death is embraced. You see, good and evil exist. There's nothing wrong or need to be fixed. On the moon or left receptive side of the logo are catalyzing energies of air, water, representing transformation, creative flow, change and reflection. Water is love, flow, transformation, the undercurrent beneath all things. Air or mind represents the invisible, expands and contracts, insulates, and shape shifts instantly. Okay, good. And then finally, that's one more. Okay, so there you go. There's the logo. There's the logo. And I wanted to mention to you guys, because I'm so frustrated with what's going on with my swag, I've decided what I'm going to do. Now, so that you know, here it is. So that you know, this is an embroidered quarter zip hoodie. They are 100% organic. Okay, here's the front. It's 100% organic. I've been wearing it for days. Okay, that's the front. And then here's the back. Okay, now the back of the ones that we're going to do is going to say at the bottom when it says here. See, so where it says, right there, where it says you didn't come into this world, you came out of it. Okay, that's what's going to be written below this here. But I don't have it yet because we've been in the middle of designing, building, and making all this stuff. And so Melinda is still pulling together the one I'm having made that has the writing on it. But this is what I'm going to do because I know you guys are so frustrated, and I am too. And you're sick of waiting. I get it. Okay, I know you're frustrated. So this is what we're going to do. I'm just going to go ahead and privately sell without having to go through the website to alleviate the pressure. I'm going to go ahead and sell these privately. So if you want one of those embroidered sweatshirts, they come in a hoodie form and the quarter zip form. If you want one, send me an email, tell me the size that you want, and then I'll write you back with how to transfer money so that I get the order in and I can get it made for you. Okay, I'm going to do that just one-on-one here initially, because these are so expensive. I don't think I'm going to sell that many of them, but I know a few of you want them. So these sell for $300 shipped to your house. That includes shipping. 300 is just, I'm just going with that baseline price. That includes shipping to get it to your house, and each one is handmade for you. Nothing is pre-done. Everything is made to order. So if you want one, just email me, hey, Chuck, I want a pullover, or I want a hoodie, and this is the size I want. And then I will write you back, and then we will figure out a payment, a way for you to make a payment so that I can get it ordered. And then there's it's a down payment to get it ordered, and then there's another payment to take delivery, so that you don't have to pay all of it up front. You just pay to order it, and then you pay the final price once it's done. That way, I can at least start to get my swag out for people that want it and that can afford that, because I know it's expensive, and I know it's not what a lot of people can do, and I'm sorry. I'm working on it. But for right now, that's what I can offer you. So if you want the swag, just shoot me an email, and I'll be happy to put an order in for you to get you one of these sweatshirts ASAP. In the meantime, I'm working on my t-shirts. I'm working on a plan. It's not going really well with Applique right now, which is frustrating, which is part of the problem. So we're trying to work that through. If I can't work it through, then I'm going to do a similar thing to what I'm doing with these pullovers. So I'm really, really sorry about the frustration of doing this. It's a complicated logo. What I want is exceptional. And so therefore it takes time to get it done. It is not cheap and easy. It is difficult to do this. So I just want you guys to know I'm on it. Okay, I haven't forgot you. I'm on it. And if you want one of the embroidered pullovers, I'm happy to get you one ordered. The gal that makes them is right here in chat. The couple is right here, and she's been doing it for like 20 years. She's a sweet lady. I mean, no worries. Your money is going to something good. It's not going to Big Corp. It's going to something good. And all of the hoodies are organic, whether they're the quarter zip or the hoodie itself. They're all organic. So you're getting high quality product. Okay. With that said, that points again to this slide that I was pointing to earlier. Here, this. Here. Add to stage. And so the reason I told you all that prelude was to let you know that within the ontology of this logo, as I just explained, are contradictions. You can't have an ontology to understand the universe that doesn't contradict, because the universe is a wonder. It's a wonder. And so you're never going to have a understanding put into words that is going to properly suggest the universe. You see? And so there's going to be contradictions. And so here, I'm going to show it to you. Just show it to you right here. Look. So here's our first one. Here we go. Ontology, first of all, the branch of metaphysics dealing with the nature of being, top right, you see. A set of concepts and categories in a subject area or domain that shows their properties and relations between them, okay? Patterns. Ontology. What is the world? So to understand that, here's an example of how it can be contradicting. To understand math requires imaginary numbers like -2 and the square root of 5, because those numbers don't exist. They're imaginary. So there's no way for you to cognize -2, because that's negative mass. So at the same time, you have to have negative, or what is called imaginary numbers, in order to have a calculus, in order to have a proper and full encompassing geometry, trigonometry. You see, you have to have non-existent numbers to understand, just like you have to have a non-existent mind to understand a world, a universe that is past words. Do you see the parallel? You see the parallel? This is important to understanding the advanced ontology, the advanced mythology we are walking into. It's not a dumbed down version like we got in Christianity, Islam, and Judaism. Those are dumbed down versions of spirituality. Dumbed down, and they're run by dominator culture. So they don't encompass, they don't get the spiritual world appropriately. Okay? So here we go. Contradiction, walking into it. To understand body requires sensorial experiences, because you only exist in your mind. There is no self. Have you ever thought about that? You must have sensorial experiences. But Chuck, you said that this world isn't real. You said this is an illusion, Chuck. How can it be an illusion and I'm experiencing it? Because you live in a contradiction, my friend. You live in a contradiction. It's called a wonder. So you're never going to get your arms around it. You're never going to get your hands around it. You're never going to finally define it. You're never going to be able to fully define the world that you're in. The very world you're in, the very world you're experiencing right now. It's past words. You have sensorial experiences. Why, Chuck? To learn. This is why it is so important to not get entangled in your sensorial experiences, to not become addicted, because addicted keeps you from deeper truths. It keeps you at the level of the addiction, which is pretty small. And this is why Western religion is so addictive, because it's oversimplified. It's an oversimplified version of nature. And so it can become extremely addictive because you think you got your hands around it. You think you got it figured out. You think you got control, just like the alcoholic. They think they got their hands around the alcohol. They think they got it under control. They don't realize that they're in an addiction, that they're addicted. It's the same thing with Western religion. Addicted to words. But you do not exist in your mind. You see, there is no self. To understand mind requires mythological scapes because your mind doesn't exist. No mass. Again, show me your mind if you think it exists. Show me the mass. Show it to me. Pictures don't count. I want you to show me your exact mind. You can't do it. This is why you need mythological scapes to understand, just like you need sensorial experiences to understand the no self. I need mythological scapes to understand no mind, no mass. And of course, to understand spirit requires anthropomorphism, because identity doesn't exist. Did you ever think about that? There is no self. Identity doesn't exist. It's an illusory identity marker to better understand the hallucination that you're in, but it doesn't exist. Do you follow? You have to anthropomorphize spirit. Chuck, what does it mean to anthropomorphize? Anthropomorphize is the attribution of human characteristics or behavior to a god, animal, or object. Why would we do that? Because we equate gods to animals and humans and events to better understand them. To better understand them. Did you realize that back in let's say back in the Greco-Roman times, there was no identity? When a person would portray an event in their life when they lost control, they would say, and I was in this, I was experiencing this event, and the god of anger overwhelmed me, and I lashed out. Because there's no self. So the god of anger fills this Greco-Roman individual who thinks that it's a god of anger that is filling them to make them angry because they don't have a self-identity. This is where our mythology comes out of, folks. This is where our mythology comes out of. All the gods and goddesses in the Greco-Roman, all of the knights and ladies and kings and queens of the round table, these are human emotions, human experiences, gods. Because what runs and rules your life? Your emotions, your feelings. They drive you like crazy. They drive you. They're your motivator. You see, and there's no words for them. And so they put these things into metaphors, anthropomorphisms, right there. Anthropomorphisms, so that you can better understand the potential, the understanding of who you are, the fire that burns within you. You see, the true, authentic identity. So understand, as we walk into this chapter 2, right, we are talking about moving into an entirely different identity, an entirely different landscape of awareness, which is what chapter 1 we spent doing. Chapter 1 was preparing for the hard truth, the disillusioning factor that's coming full frontal in chapter 2, in understanding this movement of Zen and how it came about. Now continuing here. Introduction to chapter 2. Human consciousness is like a grand loom where threads of myth, philosophy, and experience intertwine with time to form a strand of understanding. You see, it builds on itself. Patterns, folks, patterns of strands building, making a stronger and stronger rope of understanding. In chapter 2, Watts points to the fabric. Here we are with the idea of multiple strands, the fabric of Indian Buddhism's origins. Vedic texts oriented to hymns and Upanishadic insights oriented to source. And in case you guys didn't know, the Vedas were hymns. They were hymns that were passed down orally to society through the shamans who would memorize these things, and they would sing essentially the world into existence, just as the universe was sung into existence. And so the Vedas and the Upanishads are ancient mythologies for people to understand the world round about. And they come out of the East. They come out of the Near East. They come out of a place that wasn't dominator culture oriented like us in the West. The Far East was guarded. Here's a picture by land and common sense. Here, you see the Himalayan mountains and there the Gobi Desert. Okay, that keeps all the West there on the left-hand side from moving to the right. That's why I made that red line. That red line is there to show you this is why China, as according to Dr. Campbell, was one of the last developing societies. They're not the early, like Sumer, like 7,000 BC and so forth. That's way, way before China became organized, way before. People think that China is the oldest. It's not. It's not. The first city-states with monoliths and writing, cuneiform writing, comes out of the West, comes out of Sumer and the Near East and the Levant, as we've studied. But the East, you see, look, they were guarded. They were guarded by the Himalayas and the Gobi deserts from the marauders, from the wandering tribes. You see, and so China developed a mythology, an understanding that is very, very different than the West, because the West grew up in this warring, fighting Babylonian empire, and the East didn't. Okay, not until the trade routes, and we'll get into that. But for now, studying on this slide here. Hang on, get out of that here to this one, add to stage. Here, okay. So continuing, these crashed, meaning the movement, the migration of people from the trade routes. These crashed the sturdy bamboo framework of 2,000 years of conservative Chinese life culture in 200 BC. That's when it landed. The West. Remember how I said, guys, the Levant was formed because you had the traders, the cynics, the people from other nations and ontologies all congealing together in the Levant. And that crash formed all of these different fighting nations and societies in the Levant that we see even now to this day are still fighting. Okay, the East, the Chinese culture were not growing up like that. From 2000 BC to 200 BC, right? They're uninfluenced. I mean, look, is anybody coming in from the ocean? Look, you got any invaders coming in from the Pacific? Nope. Nope, no invaders coming in from the Pacific, and you got nobody coming in. You can even see how Buddhism spread out of India. See how they're going around the Himalayas, up over the top and below the Himalayas and Gobi Desert. You see, and so this Chinese culture developed a sense of the world, a sense of identity that was not tarnished and marked up by war, fighting, and hatred. Do you see? That didn't start happening until 200 BC. Here, add to stage. Here you go, 200 BC. That's when they came in. That's when the influence came in. And this is when Buddhism from India finally made its way into Taoism in China. And between these two, we get Zen. Like a stream flowing down a mountain, Buddhism adapted to rigid Chinese frameworks by shedding form into flow around and within Taoism's effortlessness and Confucianism's pragmatism. You see how it's all blending together? You see? And this is what forms Zen. Zen is a combination of Buddhism, no self, Taoism, nature as self, nature as the flow, an expression of the flow. Do you see? So you have these antithetical courses of understanding, a no self, no identity. There is nothing. There is no thing. To Taoism, which is nature. God is nature manifest. Nature is God manifest. Flow. You see, in Buddhism, there is no manifesting. There's no self. This is why Zen is so attractive to so many people, because it combines this idea of no anxiety, no self, with this idea of nurturance and love from nature. This encapsulates Zen. So it doesn't have that hard ascetic side that Buddhism has, and it doesn't have that materialism greed side, you see, that the West has, that Taoism materializes through this idea of flow, not attachment. Do you see how these contrasts, these different approaches to life are all commingling? You see, and what comes out of that is a totally different change. And what came out of the trade routes between India and China is Zen. Do you see? And we think of what's happening right now with the Great Awakening. Something different is going to come out of this greed-oriented dominator culture that is realizing we are actually humans. We're not sinners. We're actually manifested nature, manifested God, not manifested chance, not manifested accident. We didn't come into this world. We grew out of it. You see, and these two antithetical poles of you're a sinner and there is no self and nature is the center of all things are coming together, called the Great Awakening. And you are in the midst of this transformation and a new identity that is past Zen, that's past Buddhism, that's past Taoism, that's past Christianity, that's past Islam, so on and so forth, is what is coming about, is what is manifesting, called the Great Awakening. You see, when you follow the patterns, it all begins to make sense. Hang on, move that stage. Okay, here. Okay. Buddhism adapted to rigid Chinese frameworks by shedding form into flow around and within. There's the picture. Taoism's effortlessness and Confucianism's pragmatism. That's where you get your reason from with the Confucianism. That's where reason is sourcing from. Pragmatic approach, common sense approach to life. No woo-woo. Taoism is where you're going to find all your woo-woo. You know, Confucianism is where you follow all your substance, meaning the laws, the pragmatic action of right now. Do you see? Do you see how all of these blend into Zen? Okay, yet beneath that ease lies the direct experience of liberation, moksha, and you guys know that, which defies sense altogether, because you can't put moksha, you can't put satori, you can't put kenosis into words. Right? Can you? You can't put awakening into words. It's something you experience. And then you share portions of it with others, but you can never convey the whole truth. Inviting us to step back and experience material layers dissolving into a boundless black lacquer, the void, mirroring the current deconstruction of Western orthodoxic skyscrapers with the Zen's now you see it, now you don't, event horizon. Again, the blending of opposites. Look, that is happening right now. The current deconstruction of Western orthodoxy, namely its skyscrapers of truth, right? Because the Western religious individual thinks they got the truth figured out. They got it figured out. That's their skyscraper. And what are we seeing right now? The destruction of those skyscrapers, right? And I'm showing, my work, what is my work doing here? Destroying the orthodoxic skyscrapers. That's what I'm doing. Without any remorse, like a wolf. No regret, no looking back. That has to die. You see, and what has to die for us to emerge, for us to grow out of this idea of being a sinner, this idea of being fallen, this idea of being underneath Allah, right? We have to leave those spaces of pathology. It makes you pathologic believing that stuff. Okay. The mirror. Okay, we finished that slide. Next slide. Okay, so as I showed you earlier, this is the map of the world. And as you can see, here we have India. Now you see the date here. Let's make it a little larger and make sure I don't get muted. Okay, so I'm not muted. All right, so we got right there in the center, Dravidian peoples right there. This is circa 1000 BC, right? This is Buddhism right there in the center of India, okay? And you can see what is right above India, the Himalayan mountains, okay? Can't get out to the north. What's to the south? The Pacific Ocean, okay? Did someone just call me? What just happened? I just heard my name called. Okay, that was weird. I don't know what's going on with that. Okay, let's get back here to our study. Add to stage. Go. So what and so what you also see is right up there where it says Proto-Altaic pastoralists. Okay, that's the Gobi Desert. Okay, it's the Gobi Desert. And give you an idea about the Gobi Desert. Here we go. 1.3 million square kilometers of death. Right? Himalayan mountains. In other words, ain't nobody from India is making their way to China anytime soon until when? Until these opened. The trade links. You see? Now you can follow this, folks. This is how you follow how things happen, how these things occur in life. Now you see here the trade routes. See how they go around, as I showed you earlier? All right. Now this is why Zen, God, there. This is why Chinese Taoism was so isolated and protected naturally by the shaping of the earth. Okay, that's why. Okay, you guys see this? All this? Yeah, you can see it's all very clear. All very clear. Okay, China's isolated. Okay, next slide. Here we start on to the origins of Buddhism. And let me go to comments real quick to see if you guys have any comments before we keep going. Do you guys have any questions? I'm at the bottom of comments. Let me see what you guys say here. Yeah, I heard it too. That was weird. I heard my name too. It's weird. It really threw me off. That really threw me off. Yeah. Yeah, the East India Company was usurped by the KM, and they were then used to bring in opium in the 19th century to addict all of China with opium, to destroy China. That's the KM did, because China was making opium and selling it for silver to Europe. And so they reversed that, and they got China addicted to opium. Do you guys have any questions? It's not like that. Tell me, Obi. Yes, got it, Chuck. A transition to a new operating paradigm, but the precursor seems to be shit, then becomes shipped. Yeah, Bob. I love it. I love it. I heard about the opium. Yeah, exactly. This is how China was destroyed. I'll show you on our little map here. I'll show you exactly how it was done. Here, add to stage. Now, see, as you guys see right there on the left, see the Black Sea and the Caspian Sea? Okay. The Khazarian Mafia gathered right there. See where it says Alan's left-hand side, Black Sea, Caspian Sea. That is the marauding tribe of the Khazarian Mafia. And you see how they are very uniquely positioned to basically gain access to all these critical trade lines from the north all the way down to the middle of the Parthian Empire. And anything that was coming out of the east, out of India, was going through the Khazarian Mafia's area, you see? And this then began influence of the Khazarian Mafia back into China when they stole the identity of people and moved into the West. Okay, that Khazarian mafia continued to develop. If we look at the world map here, go back here, the Khazarian mafia continued to develop, and they moved west. The bigger map there, here, and you can see the west, or the Urnfield cultures, the Teutonic cultures, and so forth, the Libyan tribes in North Africa. All of the Khazarian mafia began to take over the west. Eventually, they had conflict with China. Remember, China was isolated. And so from their Western power position in the 19th century, they used the East India Company, a trade company there in India, there in the center, to move drugs into China. And they addicted China and destroyed the society, destroyed the culture. That's how China was brought to control. Okay, here we go. No, the British Empire got the Indian to produce opium for nothing and refused to pay for goods and silver and gave them opium instead. That's also part of the story. It was a combination of a lot of this going on, and the British Empire just simply turned around their buying or giving away silver for opium to trade to China, because it was the British that addicted China to opium and destroyed the country, destroyed the culture. Why did they decide to move? The Khazarian mafia moved west because that's where the power structures were. That's where all of the French, Spanish kings and queens were all coming to bear in the 16th, 15th, 17th, 14th century. And they took over the West by breeding, killing off the kings and breeding with the queens to put their genetic into the bloodline. That's why you know that all of the Rockefellers, all of the KM, it's all a fake bloodline. All the leadership, the British aristocracy is KM. They're not true British aristocracy from back in the day. No, that was all infiltrated by the KM. Maybe it was. Yeah, right on. Yeah, right on. Yeah, and Ukraine is the hub. It's now the hub of the KM, and that's why there's so much going on there. Yeah, and Osmanistan or Uzbekistan or something like that, that's the hub of the KM. Yeah, bingo. Thank you, Orange Executions. I like that. Yeah, yes. Colonization. Yes, you guys are so on it. I love my freaking chat. Now the drugs from China are destroying us. Exactly, Gretchen. Gretchen. That is exactly. They took Rockefeller, took the addiction model that they learned addicting opium to the Chinese. That's exactly why he made the medical system in the West petrochemical based, to do the same thing they did to China, to addict the United States. And has it worked? Has it worked? The medical system in America? Has it worked? It's not. Basically, I mean, most of the society is addicted to drugs. I think I read a statistic the other day that said anyone that's 50 years old or older is on at least 2 prescriptions. I think it was like 80% of the population. Addiction. What do you think? Why do you think the narco empires are importing all of the drugs that they do into America? Why do you think the politicians keep the borders open to pull in drugs into the society? What do you think is happening? It's 19th century China is what's happening, and they're moving in the drugs and the riffraff to destroy the society from the inside. Folks, it's the exact same model that destroyed China. Exact same model. Yeah. I am not sure of the pharmacology of fentanyl. Is that an opioid derivative? I think it is, isn't it? Isn't fentanyl an opioid derivative? I just don't have time to look that up right now, but I think it is. I know this personally. Anything bothers anything with body. I am proud to say I'm 65, cancer survivor, and I use no pharma. Right there, I'm right there with you, Max. Whatsoever period, I got rid of my cancer with cannabis oil and apricot seeds. Yeah, you told that story in Zoom. It was fantastic, Max. And I'm the same way. I refuse. I don't have a doctor. I haven't seen a doctor in 15 years, and I have no intention of seeing one. Absolutely not. I mean, you are literally putting your life in your hands when you go to a hospital now. I mean, I'm honestly, I mean, I could, if I was an anxious person, I could lose sleep over worrying about going to the hospital, because if you get a blood transfusion, can you imagine the blood they're going to pump into your body for a transfusion? Can you imagine the drugs, the painkillers they're going to put you on if you get in an accident? I mean, you're in trouble. You're in trouble if this Western medical system gets a hold of you. Yeah, atta girl, Jennifer, love it. Here we go. Hi Stacy, I watched a video linking Trump as a descendant of the Rothschild and thus related to Hillary Clinton. Any thoughts? He's probably been involved with the Khazarian mafia. If he still is, I don't know, but he has been. And the question is, because they use leverage. So there are people that come forward and operate against the former system that they're in because they're under leverage. So I don't know how many people in our government are currently under leverage, but you definitely see, without any question, you can see actions being taken to confront the KM. I mean, if you think about Maduro, he's a center figure of the KM. Who do you see right now in America saying that we shouldn't have stopped that narco-terrorist, right? The ones that want to keep the KM influence, the drug influence going. Yes, of course, Catlin. Yes, they've been in charge of it since probably the 40s. When they took over the East India Company, so whenever that happened, that might have been the 20s. I can't keep all the dates straight anymore. It's synthetic heroin, okay, fentanyl. Then it is an opioid. It is an opioid. Oh, is it totally synthetic? Maybe it's derived from the same science as an opioid, probably. Yeah, exactly. Human cloning, that is happening for sure. Human cloning for sure. Yes, they are outstanding. They are outstanding. Here, Rothschild's restructured Venezuela's death. Now Maduro ousted. Yeah, I'm telling you guys, it ain't about oil. They might be using oil as part of it. Nope, it's about these narco terrorists that are destroying America, well, the world for that matter, with drugs. Okay, it's an opioid. Okay, yep, figures as much. Figures as much. Why do so many people resort to drugs? Because we are living in a system that is anti-human. And when you're a human being and you haven't woken up to the fact that you're an illusion and that you're in a control system, and you think that this is what has happened to the world organically, you think that the world has become what it is today, a crime-ridden society, organically. And if you think that, you'll go crazy. Because you'll have no hope for the human being, because you'll think that humans resort to this. And this is what the Khazarian mafia wants you to think, that you'll resort to hate, war, and killing other people if you're left to your own devices. And the truth of the matter is that we've been programmed to think that way. We've been programmed to think against one another. You see, we've been manipulated. And there have been operations, psychological operations called PSYOPs, that have been carried out by the CIA to purposefully misinform and suppress the world. It is an organized effort, 100% organized effort. It is not organic. It is not organic. The way the world is right now did not get this way organically. It was driven this way purposefully. Keep that in mind. Yeah. Yeah, see, that's what I think, and this is my opinion, that's what I think the Khazarian mafia wants you to think. It has to do with the changing over of the world. So it's just a portion. You don't take too much from what's happening in Venezuela as this is the world. No, this is just a portion of what's happening in the world. It's part of the great awakening that is underway. Right on. Glad to hear that, Brian. Glad to hear that, buddy. Glad to hear that, Gail. Absolutely. Glad to hear that. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I completely agree. Let's keep going. Let's keep going. Okay, let's get back to here. Got it. Here. This. Remove, add to stage. Okay, we were here. Here. So let's begin chapter 2. Here we go. Nice. Fact nugget, Buddhism, top right. Buddhism arrived in China during the Han Dynasty around 200 BC from the Silk and trade roads, as I just showed you. Brilliant. Okay, chapter 2, the origins of Buddhism. Chinese civilization was at least 2,000 years old when it first encountered Buddhism. Thus, the new philosophy entered into a solidly established culture, namely Taoism, in which it could hardly become acceptable without major adaptations to the Chinese mentality, even though there were some resemblances between Taoism and Buddhism so strong that they have aroused speculation as to whether contacts between the two, and it could have been a little bit of contact here and there, were very much earlier than has been supposed. Now, isn't this interesting, guys? Don't miss this. This means that at that time, when there was the movement of Buddhism into Taoism in China, they were under stress in their mythology, just like you're under stress right now in your mythology, possibly, because you've been under this Western sin and atonement mythology, most likely, or subservient mythology of Allah, right? Okay, same thing happened in China. Same thing. You had Buddhism coming in, and it began to impact, it come into contact with all these folks who had never considered Buddhism. They had always been under the notion of the Tao and Confucianism, you see. And so Buddhism comes in, this idea of no self, no identity. And here you have a people that have identified through the Tao. They have identified through the idea of form, or excuse me, flow, like a current in water. You can see the vortex, and when the current stops, you can't see the vortex because the flow disappears. Okay, so it's not a hard identity, but it's an identity of now you see it, now you don't, which is very appropriate to life. And so then you have Buddhism coming in, and they're saying, no, there's actually no self. There's no identity. Every single thing is an illusion. Nothing exists. There is no self. You see, and this creates pressure on a society just like we're experiencing now. And this is what China was experiencing in 200 AD, or BC, excuse me. Okay, China absorbed Buddhism as it has absorbed so many other external influences, not only philosophies and ideas, but also alien populations and invaders. Undoubtedly, this is due to some measure to the extraordinary stability and maturity which the Chinese have derived from Confucianism. Remember when I said that Confucianism is a pragmatic, practical thing? Reasonable, unfanatical. See, there's no woo-woo. Humanistic. Confucianism is one of the most workable patterns of social convention that the world has known, coupled with the let well enough alone, quote unquote, attitude of Taoism, and you guys know that, go with the flow. It nurtured a mellow and rather easygoing type of mentality. Here's the change. See, the mindset change. Rather easygoing type of mentality, which, when it absorbed Buddhism, did much to make it more practical. That is to say, it made Buddhism a possible way of life for human beings, for people with families, with everyday work to do, and with normal instincts and passions. You see, and this is what my thing is. Whatever mythology we embrace, it's got to be practical and pragmatic, down to earth. It certainly needs to have some woo-woo in it and some like, okay, get this wild idea. But it needs to be grounded in pattern, grounded in experience, hands-on, get your fingers dirty, right? That's what it's got to be grounded in, because this is what is going to substantiate the woo-woo. Got it? It all flows together. Just watch and it happens. Okay. It was a basic Confucian principle that it is man who makes truth great. Now, this is huge. It is man who makes truth great, not truth which makes man great. Now, that is liquid heresy, because the Christian, the Westerner, believes that it is truth that makes the human great, you see, but it is man that makes truth great. Why? Because you are truth. You're a nature creature. You are manifested truth. And you see your patterns everywhere you look, meaning the human pattern. You see it everywhere you look. This is manifested truth, manifested consciousness, you see? And so here, where it says that you embody and you evoke truth, that truth is not your telos, but that it is something that you are, you see? And it is the Western mind that thinks I reach out to God for truth because God is truth. I'm fallen. I'm not incarnated truth. I'm incarnated sin. Do you see the difference? And you can see this very easily right here in this sentence. It was basic Confucian principle that it is man who makes truth great, not truth which makes man great. For this reason, humanness. How many times you guys heard me say that? Humanness or human-heartedness, Zhen, is always felt to be superior to righteousness. And that's your statement against Confucianism. There it is. Be superior to righteousness, since man himself is greater than any idea which he may invent. And there it is. Truth is past words. So any idea you have of truth in your mind is not you. It's not you. You are past truth. Do you see? Meaning words. The truth that you are is past words, the words of truth. Man, this is just such good. This is so good. Since man himself is greater than any idea which he may intend, there are times when men's passions are much more trustworthy than their principles. Is it not true? Your passions, remember what I said? Your feelings, your emotions, these are your drivers, your motivations that present you. You see? And so therefore, it is going to be these factors that don't have an overriding principle, but are simply virtuous from their authentic expression, right? Living a life of that, you live the authentic life. You live the holistic life. You're not living the sighted life because you know you are truth manifesting. There is no lack. There is nothing missing. You do not need a savior. You see, this is pure heresy that you're reading in this book. Exactly what happened to the Chinese when they were influenced by these outside influences, outside people. Since opposed principles or ideologies are irreconcilable, wars fought over principle will be wars of mutual annihilation. I'll explain that in a minute. But wars fought for simple greed will be far less destructive because the aggressor will be careful not to destroy what he is fighting to capture. Pro tip, left side blue. When fighting over God and principles, here it is, the mind holding that God and those principles must be destroyed, not just the city and its defenses. This is why back in the old times, they didn't capture the enemy. They destroyed the enemy because remember, it was ideologies that were ruling the world way back in the day, similarly to the ideologies now. But back then, it was ideologies that was driving these people, knowing that even if we capture their city, even if we take their belongings, even if we take their land, you can't change the mind of an individual that is hardened into an ideology. They will stay with the ideology. And after they get out of that situation, they will just simply rebuild their house and build their ideology into their house. In other words, you must destroy the society if you are to destroy their ontology, if you are to destroy their gods, if you are to destroy their beliefs. And when you have a world that's run on dominator culture, you're going to have one tribe, namely the Israelites, who are going to go in and say, we are going to win this. We are going to destroy you because you believe in the wrong God. You're worshiping the wrong idols. You're worshiping the wrong essence. And we know the right one. And so you're going to conform to us. You see that intolerance? That is the kind of crap that has to stop because that's inhumane. That intolerance, that drive to usurp and take over someone else's truth and priority, you see, that's greed. That's usurpation. That's narcissism. You see, it's inappropriate. It's pathology, which is why they would kill them. And this is why Alan talks about this portion next in his book. I'll show you right here. Wars we fought for simple greed will be far less destructive because the aggressor will be careful not to destroy what he is fighting to capture. Reasonable that is, human men will always be capable of compromise, but men who have dehumanized themselves by becoming the blind worshipers of an idea or an ideal are fanatics. They're fanatics whose devotion to abstractions, right? A fanatic is devoted to abstractions, makes them the enemies of life. Chuck, why the enemy of life? Top right. The one who loves from command harms the culture with inauthenticity. That's called being an enemy of life. If you love from command, you are an enemy of life because you are living the inauthentic life. You are harming the society. This is why when it says in the Bible or any sacred book, you must love God or you're going to pay, right there, you know, that's inauthentic love. It is steering you towards inauthentic love. This ties into directly the question that was asked of me at Zoom and what I thought of the Bible. And I said, you just look at John 3:16 and it will show you right on the front end. It's a psyop. Look at the verse. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son. So right there, it's saying something's wrong. God had to give his son because the world is broken. You're broken. It's already claiming your imperfection and the world's imperfection. Something's wrong here. Gave his only begotten son that whosoever believes in him, meaning God, well, believes in God. Well, belief, well, that moves me away from faith. So this verse is asking me to not be a man of faith, but to be a man of belief, because it's going to be belief that gets me into heaven. Shall not, what is it? Forgot to give his only begotten son. Whosoever believes should not perish. Do you ever perish? No. So why is the Bible saying that you will perish if you don't believe right? Will not perish, but have eternal life. Aren't you already an eternal creature? Aren't you living already in a profundity and eternity itself? And this is one of the core key verses in all the Bible. And you can take it totally apart and show that it's pathology. It is inappropriate. You're not fallen. You don't need a savior. The world isn't broken. You're not a sinner. You're never going to die. You're an eternal being. There is no heaven and hell because eternity is past dualism. Do you see? Right on the front end. And so right there, shows you right there. Loves from command, harms the culture with inauthenticity. There you go. The Bible is encouraging inauthenticity. Is that how you want to model your life? Do you want to model your life after inauthentic love? Commanded love, command, where like, if you don't love me, you're going to pay. I'm going to send you to hell. Is that authentic love? Is that authentic truth? Right there, the one who offers compassion through condition harms the recipient with guilt and debt. And so what is happening in the Bible? You're given all this grace, but guess what, friend? Guess what goes along with that? Well, there's a reason why that dude had to die, and you're it. You put Jesus on the cross. You did. You're guilty. He had to die for you, friend. You see, and it's put over the skies like he loved you so much he had to die for you. But what people don't realize is the undercurrent of that proposed love, which is inauthentic because it's conditioned. You must believe. You must have no faith. You must believe. See, is love conditional? Is love based on belief? Like, do you only love your kids if they believe in you? Do you only love your kids because you command them to love you? What kind of world are you living in? Do you see? When you command someone to love their neighbor, when you command someone to love God, when you say, if you don't believe this way, you're going to hell, these are ultimatums. These are leverages to get you to believe a certain way, to think a certain way, to act a certain way. You're under control. Starts at John 3:16. I just told you how. You see? Do you see? Okay, let's go back a couple slides and elucidate what we were looking at right here. Okay. Page 29, Buddhism's entry into China's mature culture. Key clarification, Buddhism didn't dominate. China's Tao humanized it. There it is, humanized it. Why? How? Because it brought in an idea of the self that Buddhism had never considered. This idea of flow, which is both a verb and a noun. In my opinion, it's a bigger picture than the ascetic, because the ascetic is sitting there and they're just basically saying there's nothing. They're just releasing from it all. You see, but the bigger picture is identifying through something that's not a verb and not a noun. It's not exactly something you can put or describe exactly. And flow is a good way of having something like that in words, because it's not a verb and it's not a noun. It's both. It's both action and a position. You see, an action and position don't go along with the idea of no self. So it's a bigger picture than the person that just flat denies it. This person is integrating the fact that it is past words and outside cognizance rather than denying it. You see? This is why I think Zen is a bigger picture than Buddhism, and it's a bigger picture than the Tao, because it has some reasoning in there that doesn't exist in either. See, something to think about. Good stuff to think about. Continuing. Let's see. Buddhism didn't dominate. Buddhism didn't dominate. China's Tao humanized it by emphasizing Zhen, human-heartedness over righteousness. That is, trust of the human heart, the Shin, magnanimity over asceticism, which I just explained. This connects to the journey of the hero, the one who leaves their own spiritually arrogant, egocentric identity for the integration of release. Release of what? The spiritual absolutist holds in the grabby mind, right? Releasing what is held in the grabby mind. This headlessness, as we just were listening to from Watts, this headlessness frees to the authentically, there it is, the authentic lived experience. I just said, what is inauthentic? Contrived love. The authentically lived experience and flowing human identity, bathing in what? In trust, not belief. The more belief you put in your life, the less faith you have. The only way to approach a wonder is in faith, because it's not what you believe. A wonder is past words. The appropriate approach is faith. This is why believing in Jesus, believing that you're a sinner, you see, leads you directly away from faith. This is the ethos of the Tao's De, virtuosity and perfection. What's the virtuosity and perfection? The flowing human identity bathed in trust and an authentically lived life. That's virtuosity and perfection. Then this is what we considered last week. Now, what's the deeper truth? Truth serves humans, not vice versa. Spirituality shouldn't shrink reality. Isn't this brilliant? It should expand it. I worked on this all week. It should expand it. How? Through human flexibility, trusting the heart. There it is, trusting the heart. This is why Zen became the offspring of Buddhism, Taoism, and Confucianism, because each one of those, Buddhism, the mind, there is no mind, Taoism, nature, nature's flow, and Confucianism, reason. Understanding can be found through reason. Combine all these three, and what do you get? You get Zen. You get Zen. And what's the pro tip for here? The lack of heart trust evokes a resistive, conflict-oriented life. And what do we see all the Western religions living in to this day? Conflict-oriented life, conflict-oriented world. War, usurpation, taking over, control. Don't you see it? Conflict-oriented life, biggest life. There's no truth there, guys. It's all illusions. It's all illusions. Page 29, Buddhism's entry into China's mature culture. Watts opens chapter 2 by contrasting Buddhism's arrival in the ancient, resilient Chinese civilization, already 2 millennia old, and that's 2,000 years old, and soaked to the gills with Taoism and Confucianism. You see, just like we are here, we're soaked to the gills with Christianity and Allah and Islam, aren't we? Adaptation into Zen was the next step. And for us, adaptation into the Great Awakening is the next step. You see, unlike a conqueror imposing dogma like the Old Testament, Buddhism blended into Chinese Taoism like ink into water, echoing Taoism's natural flow. China's absorptive power stems from Confucianism's stable humanistic ethos, reasonable, non-fanatical. It fosters a mellow and easygoing mindset, which influenced Zen's pragmatism. Compared with Taoism's let well enough alone, tempered Buddhism into a livable way called Zen, not for ascetics, but for everyday people with families, work, and desires. You see, isn't that you and me? Right? We have families, we have responsibilities. We can't disappear, can we, into the forest and become enlightened? No, you have family, you have responsibilities. You have concerns that you must meet as a part of your expression of love and existence, right? And so you need something that will walk right along with you and not say, well, until you're out in the forest and you've stopped eating for 2 years and you've just shrunk to a waif, you really haven't arrived. I mean, that's exactly what the Buddha experienced. And he said, the hell am I doing? The hell am I doing? I'm wasting away in the middle of a forest eating a rice grain a day. What good am I to the society? Right? You must participate. And this is why Zen is beautiful. It encourages you to participate. The core Confucian idea elevates humanness, Zhen, over rigid righteousness, which we studied just now, asserting that, again, man magnifies truth, not vice versa, and that is liquid heresy to the Orthodox. That man magnifies truth. The Orthodox says, no, Chuck. Nope, God magnifies truth, and we stand in that brilliance. Nope, you are the brilliance, friend. You are the brilliance. Make no mistake. There is no separation. Passions, when human-hearted, prove more reliable than principles, as we now know, averting fanaticism's destructive wars and loving people into living hell. You become a fanatic through belief, just so you know. An obsessive believer is a fanatic, a person who will not let go. What have we been talking about with Zen? The whole idea is to let go. The fanatic is the one that just can't let it go, man. Just can't let it go. They got to find that revenge. They got to find that answer. They got to find that whatever. Can't let it go. And they don't realize you are living in a wonder. You're living in a wonder, friend. If you want to live an anxious-free life, you must learn to let go. You must learn to walk in faith, not belief. You must learn to let go. You must learn to let go. The answer is within you, my friend. It is not found anywhere else. It is found in you. All Buddhism honors the middle way. Awakening arises only from the human state. Key there. Balancing angelic purity, diva, and demonic indulgence, preta. Watts points to a deeper truth, which is what we've been pointing to. True philosophy serves life, not abstractions. Please read that. True philosophy serves life, not abstractions. What is the freaking entire West made of? Abstractions, forms, absolutes, guarantees, right? These imprison you. They imprison your mind. So embrace a fluid existence, not abstraction, freeing us from cages of conditioning ideology. So to embrace a fluid existence. I mean, absolutely brilliant. Continuing where we were reading, modified by such attitudes, Far Eastern Buddhism is much more palatable and according to nature than its Indian, Tibetan counterparts. There's that softness that the Tao brought in with flow. Got it? The ideals of life, which seem at times to be superhuman, more suited to angels than to men. Even so, all forms of Buddhism subscribe to the middle way between the extremes of angel, diva, and demon, preta, ascetic and sensualist, and claim that supreme awakening or Buddhahood can be attained only from the human state, which is both, folks. That's what he's pointing towards. It's both. The human state is the yin and yang. It's both. And it is from that polarized state that there is growth, that there is beginning. The contrasting of opposites is what brings about awakening. Look what we were talking about with the wars. The contrasting of opposites. What is happening now to the United States, like what happened to China back in the 19th century, the contrasting of opposites. What are you seeing right now all over the news? You're seeing the truth and evidence of the corrupt being exposed, right? And you're seeing the corrupt denying this. You're seeing both worlds. And it is from the conjoining, the bringing about of the two, that we launch into the one, that we launch into a larger oneness principle from these poles of antithesis. Do you follow? See, the world is like this. It's a scape of patterns, not escape. A scape of patterns. That's the world. And so you're going to have patterns all over the place. And the key is to find the ones that are congruent with each other, to then see the truth that these patterns on the lower level are pointing at. That's exactly what we're doing as we take apart Christianity, as we take apart the West. We're looking into a bigger and bigger and bigger landscape that our height of awareness has afforded us. You see? Continuing, and claim that supreme awakening or Buddhahood can be attained only from the human state, like I just explained. This is a human consciousness. This is why we build skyscrapers and monkeys don't. There are some serious difficulties in the way of giving an historically accurate account of Indian Buddhism as of the whole philosophical tradition from which it arose. No student of Asian thought should be unaware of these difficulties, because they make it necessary to take almost every important pronouncement about ancient Indian thought with caution. Thus, before attempting to describe Indian Buddhism, some of these difficulties should first be mentioned. Now, this is where we get into the origins, and this is where the Westerner is going to see a different reality for the historical record of this Eastern philosophy as compared to the West, because these Eastern philosophies were sung into existence. Continuing, the first and most serious is the problem of interpreting Sanskrit and Pali texts in which ancient Indian literature is preserved. This is especially true of Sanskrit, which the sacred language of, this is especially true of Sanskrit, the sacred language of India, and more importantly, from the form of Sanskrit used in the Vedic period. Both Western and Indian scholars are uncertain as to its exact interpretation, and all modern dictionaries rely heavily on a single source, the lexicon compiled by Bothink and Roth in the latter portion of the last century, and now admitted to contain a great deal of guesswork. Now see here, all Alan is saying is that they've done their best, but get the point. Don't focus on the exact way they've described it. Don't focus on the exact way this comes across to you. Look at the deeper principle below or above the words. See past the veil. This is where he's pointing towards. This seriously affects our understanding of the primary sources of Hinduism and the Vedas and Upanishads. The discovery of proper European equivalents for philosophical terms has been hindered by the fact that early lexicographers were all too ready, here it is, to find correspondences with Western theological terms. In other words, what you're getting is tainted, since one of the primary objectives of their studies was, of course, to assist the missionaries. Can you see the conflict? Can you see the convolution that would begin to happen between these missionaries, these people who are trying to bring in Buddhism, and the Taoist Chinese, and the ones who are graduated into Zen? And they're all commingling together. Do you see how you would have discrepancies and issues there? This is what he's pointing towards. The historical record is convoluted. Human compromise versus fanatic ideals and historical challenges. Building on humanism, Watts contrasts wars of greed, pragmatic and preserving the prize, to ideological crusades which annihilate. Because a mind that holds an ideology will not relinquish it, as I mentioned earlier. And it will become meaning the person, they will become as inhumane as necessary to defend it. Would they not? Would they not? I mean, look at the Israelites in the Old Testament. Look at what they're doing to defend their belief system. Raping, pillaging, stealing, destroying, burning. Because they don't believe the same as them. You see? Small mind. Small minds resort to that kind of violent conclusion. Small mind. And it will become as inhumane as necessary to defend it. Consider the defenders of the Bible or the Quran exactly. In fact, I mean, look at all of the foreigners that have come into the country and they're destroying the country. It's because they're ideologically different than the country. They've moved into a country that is ideologically opposite of them. So there's a natural hatred that's there because these people believe differently. They think differently. They build cities differently than the way that you yourself, being, say, you're one of the people that's coming in that's terrorizing, you yourself were raised, because you were raised in this other country that was oriented to this extremely violent belief system. And if people don't believe like you, you kill them. They're still living in the ancient biblical times, 2000 BC. They're still living there. And this is that ideology that Watts is pointing out right here. And they will become as inhumane as necessary to defend it. And the point is that inhumanity, what has the belief system caused them to become? Inhumane. They don't see themselves the way they authentically are. They see themselves the way the society, the religion has shaped them. And the sinner is in the same position. And they will die. They will die for that belief. And this is the person, you see, this is the fanatic. They can't learn. They can't change. They're obsessed. You see, they're narcissists. They're narcissistic, obsessed with their own belief, their own self. And you see, this is the corrosion. This is what has corroded our society, a portion of it. In fact, history has shown that destruction of life is room and board for the fanatic. Reasonable humans compromise and are tolerant, whereas ideologues become dehumanized, like I just said, by worship of abstractions, forms, holding on to forms, and thus becoming foes of growth. And what is life? But life is growth. Foes of life. There it is. India's philosophical Buddhic essence is liberation. So to grow, you see, the whole point is to grow. It actually thrives in humility. Imagine such a thing. By recognizing human knowledge limits, it dismantles illusions. That's why it's important to know your limits, friend. It dismantles illusions of fixed truths. And this echoes a journey from Western bounded reality to Zen's expansive flow. Yeah? Brilliant. Love it. Got any comments? I'm going to the bottom. I'm at the bottom. I'm at the bottom of comments. Yeah, you are a wonder, love. Hi, Kogi. Welcome back, love. Glad to see you here. Yes, you are a wonder. That is exactly what you are. Yes, indeed. Right there with you. Okay, looks like you guys are good. Interesting. That's good. That makes me happy, Kogi. I like hearing that. Okay. Hey, Bob. Chuck, can you give me a standout example of faith in your life as opposed to belief? Well, I can't put faith into words, Bob. See, I can hand a belief to someone. I can hand an idea to someone, from my head. Like I can give them a concept, you see. But that's all words. That's all grabby and holding to words. Faith is the act of release of words, release of belief, release of securities. This is the life of insecurity. A person who lives in faith is living out the life of a wonder, in other words, and insecurity, because you can't get your hands around it and define it. Faith is like that. I can't hand faith to someone. I can hand them a belief. I can't draw faith for someone. I can draw belief for someone, meaning I can write it out in words. I can't do that with faith. You see? And so faith is not believing in something and so I'm okay. It's realizing the authentic self is perfectly fine in and of itself, meaning that you're full of truth. Truth can't be put into words. You see, it's the same as faith. So the way you see the person that is living the life of faith is the person that is living the authentic life. the transparent life. That's the life of faith, because they've released. They're not holding. And so because they have released, they're living in faith. And those that see them living in that life of faith, which is anxiety-free, conflict-free, meaning you see the deeper sense before the conflict arises. You are living on another plane. You see the landscape completely because you're not confined with beliefs. You're an observer. A person of faith is an observer. A person of faith is a person who is in the flow. You know, and it's like, okay, Chuck, what does it mean to be in the flow? Well, I can't really describe that. Picture it in your head. You know, it's that kind of a thing. Faith is outside words, it's past words. That's why mythologies are faith-based. You see? Because the mythology is giving you pictures of emotions and feelings and gods and goddesses and so on and so forth. You see? It's a funny thing. It's an interesting thing. It's an interesting thing. I didn't say that. I don't understand why you think what's going on in Venezuela is anti-KM. The CIA invaded Venezuela. I think that there's a lot of different types of information going on now as a part of the changeover to the Great Awakening. And so I think that what is going on in Venezuela is a bigger picture than the CIA that you seem convinced of. It's a bigger picture than the KM, right? It's a bigger picture than the scenarios that you've been given. So it's you can't put what's going on in Venezuela as all black or all white. That's my point. You can't put it in either category. It doesn't fit in either one. It's part of the Great Awakening. I always was one. Yes, you are, love. Yes, you are, Kogi. Yes, you are. Yeah, nice. Yeah, isn't that beautiful? Yeah, it's beautiful. Hey, I like your puppy. Awesome. Great looking dog there. Yeah, good one there. Nice. I like that. That's why I like my chat. They come in and they say really awesome comments like belief is a dream state, faith is inspiration. That's really good, Rip Me. That's really good, dude. Oh, and you got a pup too, dude. Look at all the dogs. This is awesome. This is awesome. Yes. Yeah. And even a deeper thought, there is no yoke. There is no yoke to weigh at all. Here we are. Chuck, can you explain grace in Christianity and how that relates to Zen? Well, you wouldn't need grace and Zen. Grace in Christianity is what I like to call authored grace. It's not authentic grace. The grace in Christianity is authored. And why is it authored? Because you know who's giving you the grace. True grace is realization without identity. I'll put this into materialism for you. So let's say like you go out and you put $10,000 in someone's mailbox in cash. And then they walk out from the house, your friend, let's say, and they go to the mailbox and they open the mailbox door and they see $10,000 in the mailbox. And they quickly, like any of us, would look around like, okay, who gave this to me? Where did this come from? Like, why do I have $10,000? I shouldn't have $10,000 in this mailbox. What is going on? Who did this? Okay, if you never tell them you did it, that's grace. That's grace. If you never tell them that you gave them that $10,000, that's grace. It's when you identify yourself as the grace provider, it's no longer grace. So Christ identifies himself, God identifies Christ as the grace provider. Well, that's not grace. Grace is, I guess, what you could say gift or helping someone, but never their knowing who helped them. It's the profundity of like, my God, this just happened. I have no idea how it happened. That's amazing. That's called grace. No authorship, no identity. So anything the Bible is going to offer you, that's going to be oriented to guilt, debt, because it's conditioned grace. You know who did it. So you automatically feel that you owe them, even though you don't, according to Christianity. You still have that onus, which keeps you in the sin state. because you don't think that you're transformed. You think you owe debt. I mean, the pastor will say to you, who paid the debt of sin for you? Jesus Christ. It's already admitting the debt is there. Do you see? So it's not grace. And so Zen, there's no need for grace because there's nothing missing. There's no mistake. There isn't a problem. There's nothing to fix. There's nothing to forgive. There's nothing to save. You see, so there isn't this incessant drive and need and have to have of grace that's in the Bible. And because there's that drive and need and have to have, it's not grace. Do you follow? It's like saying I'm going to kill my ego is the recognition of ego. You're not going to be killing your ego as long as you think you need to kill your ego. You're recognizing that your ego exists, thinking that you need to kill it. You've already admitted. And it's the same thing with the sinner. They've already admitted sin. They've already admitted the need for grace. It's the same pattern. Yeah, I hope that answers your question. You're welcome, Bob. Welcome. Yes, exactly. There's no need for release, you see, when there's faith, because you're not holding anything. You see? Here. I understand that you disagree with your biological father, but do you have any respect for his intellect? Oh my God, yes. Oh my God. I mean, yes, I say that publicly all the time, how much I love my father's brilliance. I mean, if you watched last week, I spent probably 10 minutes talking about how incredible his intelligence and communication skills are. It's unbelievable. So it doesn't matter if we believe differently. That has nothing to do with his intellect or mind for that matter. Yes. Yeah. Okay. Looks like you guys are rolling. Yeah, you see, you have to have substance to have a belief. Okay? You have to have something of substance, something of what would it be? Literary concrete, literary essence to have belief. You see, and there is no concrete evidence in faith, because you can't hand that to someone. You can't hand faith to someone. You can hand them a belief. You can't hand them faith. You can teach someone belief. You can't teach someone faith. You see, there's no words for it. So it's and here's the key to understanding. Faith has really been misused by the West because they call Christianity a faith-based system, and it's not. It's a belief-based system. In fact, Christianity, Islam, and Judaism are anti-faith religions. They are anti-faith because they're based on belief. It's belief that gets you to heaven. It's belief that that gets you to be subservient to Allah because you think Allah is this authoritative figure over you. You see, these are beliefs and scenarios. It isn't faith. Faith doesn't have an authority. Faith doesn't have a basis. I love my wife, but I could never tell you why I love my wife. I just love her. And in fact, if I tell you why I love her, I belittle the reason that I love her. Faith is those exact same line. That exact same line is love. Exact. You can't put it into words. Just like you can't put love into words. Anytime you can put the essence into words, it's no longer faith. It's a belief. You see, that's why I started this whole lecture tonight on contrast. Why can't I think of the word, Chuck? Here, this, add to stage. This is why I started the thing with this. Contradictions, that's the word I'm looking for. Contradictions. Because life is a contradiction. You see? And so you can't put life into words, you can't put faith into words, you can't put love into words. right? But I can put belief into words easily. In fact, I can write them down and hand them to my kids and pass them down generation after generation after generation. There's no faith needed. It's all belief. You see? I like it. I like that you guys are asking about this. This is good. This is good. Could be. Could be. But neither you nor I can say yes or no to that. Nobody can. And if you say that he is, you don't know that. You can't know that. And if I say that he's not, I can't know that. You see? Nobody can say. And if you think you know, you're self-consumed because you don't know enough. You can't know enough. They haven't given us enough information to know for sure. Because, I mean, there's Scottish Rite in his history. But at the same time, if you look at some of the things that he's done as far as the border's concerned, I mean, we would not have a country right now. Look what's happening in Europe where they didn't close the borders. Look what's happening to them. Look what's happening in Greece. Look what's happening in Italy where they haven't closed the border. My friend, same thing would be in the United States. Same thing. And he closed the border. Now, is that a KM thing to do? Was it a KM thing to close the border? Was it a KM thing to do to renounce all of the fake signature laws from Biden? Was that a KM thing to do? To basically say every single law that Biden passed with the auto pen is now null and void. Would a KM member do that? Would a KM member arrest a narco-terrorist who's importing drugs left and right into the world, all over the place? Would the KM do that? Would they want those drugs to keep going out? They'd want the drugs to keep going. Something to think about. Something to think about. Faith is opening up to the unknown. Belief is attaching the form. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. It's always a bigger picture. Yes, Shan, you are correct. What is this? Chuck, will you take Monero for an embroidered quarter zip? What is Monero? Like money? I mean, I'm selling them, yeah. I don't know what you mean by Monero. I guess that's money. I don't know. Good question. Hi, Verbal. Nicely done. Nicely done. Yes. Nicely done. I want to be Grace. Yeah, I mean, the way you can be Grace Kogi is do something exceptional for someone, but never tell them you did it. That's the way of the Tao, who accomplishes merits and makes no claim to them. That's grace. And remember when I was describing the Tao to you guys, that the Tao never takes merits for its accomplishments. It's living grace. And you could be the same way. That's one of the things I would love to do someday if I ever have money, is I would love to give it away and never tell the people that I gave them the money and just watch their lives change and watch them be overwhelmed by it. I would love to be one of those people that have like a hidden camera and you give someone a whole bunch of money and just watch their reaction and never tell them. Never, ever, ever tell them that you gave it to them, because then they'll feel indebted to you and it ruins the moment. It ruins the grace. As soon as you tell them you gave them money, they're now in debt to you and you ruin the whole vibe. But if you come in as just a friend and they say, you know, somebody just gave me $10,000. Do you know who it is? Do you know? No idea. No idea. That's incredible. I'm so happy for you. What are you going to do? That's so awesome. That's grace. No debt. Yeah, exactly. Don't take credit. Never take credit. Do great things for people. Do wonderful things and never ask for recognition. Never want to be in the spotlight. Never ask for anything. Seriously, you ruin it when you expect something. You ruin it. I talk about that later in the talk, actually. This one. Here we go. Let's see what you have to say. Half Gazo. Glazers. Interesting. I was always taught that grace was forgiveness, not asked for or recognized a need. That could be one definition, but I see grace as simply unauthored greatness, unauthored compassion, unauthored virtuosity. You see, and when you got forgiveness there, there's some identity there. Forgiving someone or forgiving yourself, there's identity there. You see, with grace, there's no identity. Remember I said you stay anonymous. There's no identity in grace. None. Just like there's no identity in love. Same thing. You see, it's past these things. This is very good. Yes, you can feel it. Yes, because you're a nature creature. Yes, but perhaps we make the mistake of personifying Christ as Jesus. Yes, he's just another sage if he ever lived. The Christos, the love, the purity, the truth, the passion, the drive within you, the Christos, right? That has nothing to do with Jesus. You ever thought about that? That has nothing to do with Jesus. Jesus keeps you from that space, keeps you from the Christ space. Kind of related. Hubby said I was talking in my sleep last night, but I was speaking another language. He could not figure out the language. Not the first time he has heard this in my dreams. Interesting. That's interesting, esoteric. I've heard of such things before. It is interesting. It is all within you. Yeah. 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 An ambulance. That's an interesting stretch there. That's an interesting stretch. Okay. So it looks like you guys are good. Should we keep on going? You guys are just unbelievable how many questions. I mean, I can't keep up with this. Yeah, me too, Kogi. Me too. Me too. I long to help people financially. I long to do that. I think it makes me so sad when I see people in this world that have made billions that they'll never spend and they'll never see, and they don't use it to better others and to give it all away and to make the world a better place. It's just unbelievable. They just keep collecting, and it's just a number in an account. It's so sad. I really am looking forward to that stopping and that we really help each other. Okay, let's go back to media assets and continue. Of course. Okay, media assets here. Okay, so we were, sorry, here, add to stage. Okay, system students, we read that, and then we read that. Okay, next page, here we are, arrival of Buddhism. Page 30, human compromise versus fanatic ideals and historical challenges. Now, clarification, passions become greater than principles when principles fanaticize. Okay, follow? Passions become greater than principles when principles fanaticize. Okay, such pragmatic humanism tempers Buddhism's extremes, which connects back to chapter 1, which we studied. Western linear thinking bounds religion, science, the heart in cages. And we talked about that a little bit earlier here. Eastern flow, Tao Zen, embraces human instincts without judgment by trusting the heart. And that's the key thing. The biggest obstacle the Christian is going to have to overcome in the Great Awakening is learning to trust themselves, trust their own heart, and know that it's not sinful. That'll be one of the hardest things. Deeper truth, fanaticism like Christian orthodoxy or Islamic idealism forms life into an enemy by abstraction and reductionism. See below. True awakening balances and humanizes. That's another key way you know when someone has awakened, is that they're not looking for a fight. The one who has awakened is never looking for a fight and is never wanting conflict. That's not something that they're attracting. But the one, man, the reductionist, they know. I mean, they know. Okay, true awakening balances and humanizes. Exiting a caged reality aligns well here. Buddhism is a practical, contrastive affair of psychology, not a conflictive, anointed battle of icons. Please read that again. Buddhism is a practical, contrastive affair of psychology. Remember, I've told you guys that Buddhism is a dialogue. It is the beginning of a dialogue. That's what Buddhism is. That's what Zen is. It's the beginning of a dialogue, of a psychology, affair of psychology, not a conflictive, anointed battle of icons. Pro tip, and these are examples of reductionism gone awry. That makes you a fanatic. It's when your reductionism has gone awry. Here we go. Consider the Crusades were based Why did I write it like that? The Crusades were based on I forgot the on. The Crusades were based on a spiritual reductionism so pronounced, it substantiated taking life in the name of God. You see, that's when your reductionism, your beliefs are out of control. When you substantiate life in the name of God by killing others. Chemo is thought the only and best option. This is, again, a problem with the reductionists. They don't realize that chemo is actually not the best option. It's actually the worst option, but they have reduced medicine into the Western mind, and so therefore they think that chemo is the best option, even though we know from Dr. Glidden, chemo doesn't work. You see, taking the jab is reduced to the greater good. And how many times did you guys hear that? What's the matter with you? It's for the greater good. Get the jab. It's for the greater good. It's not about you. Get yourself out of the way. It's for the greater good. You see, that's guilt tripping someone. That's misalignment. That's reductionism. Reduce, 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 reduce. Throw away all the reasons why you shouldn't take it. Forget that. Let's just do this for the greater good because we know it's good for us. Reductionism. Absolute madness. Believing the magic bullet theory is the last and only reasonable account. And again, this is a person who would believe in the magic bullet theory, whose world is very small, whose world is shaped, in that case, by the CIA. By the CIA has shaped that person's world. That's how small their world is. And so they have reduced all the evidence that counters the magic bullet. They've just reduced that, just throw that all away. It's the magic bullet. The magic bullet explains why he died. Magic bullet. That's it. See, and this is the Christian. I'm a sinner. I'm a sinner. That's it. There's no way you can change that. Or the Islamist. Allah is God. I don't care what you say. I don't care how many times you tell me Jesus is Messiah. Allah is God. And Allah has nothing to do with what Jesus did on the cross. Nothing. It's a totally different story. Jesus was just some sage. Do you see? Fanatics. That's how you make people in fanatics and hate each other. Reductionism. The origins of Buddhism, starting page 31, second line there. The second is that it is extremely hard to know what was the original form of Buddhism. There are two sets of Buddhist scriptures. The Pali Canon of the Theravada, or Southern School of Buddhism, which flourishes in Ceylon, Burma, and Thailand, and the Sanskrit Tibetan Chinese canon of the Mahayana, or Northern School. There is a general consensus of scholars that the Pali Canon is, on the whole, the earlier of the two. See here, they're fighting over the state stuff, and that the principal sutras of the Mahayana canon were all compiled after 100 BC. However, the literary form of the Pali Canon does not suggest that it represents the actual words of Gautama the Buddha. If the Upanishads are characteristics of the style of discourse of an Indian teacher between 800 and 300 BC, they bear little resemblance to the tediously repetitious and scholastic style of most Buddhist scriptures. There can be little doubt that the greater part of both Buddhist canons is the work of the pundits of the Sangha, the Buddhist monastic order, for it shows every sign of being the reverential elaboration of an original doctrine. And again, here, Alan wants you to look to where they're pointing, not at the figure. As with Russian icons, the original painting has been almost lost to sight in the overlay of jewels and gold. And just take that metaphor and apply it to Buddhism and time. And over time, as Buddhism, Zen, Tao has passed on through the ages, it's been adorned by different ideas and concepts from others. Just like Christianity is a form of the Christos that's been put ideas upon it by the Catholic Church. And so it's not what it once was. And it's the same thing with this Buddhism Zen thing. And Alan is saying, see past those things and look at the point that it's making. Where is it pointing to? Is it pointing you that you're a fallen creature and sinful, or is it pointing you at the idea that you are perfection incarnate? And take that as your point source. You see, don't get caught up in the decoration. Go to the point and use that as your source. The third is that the Hindu-Buddhist tradition has never had the historical sense of the Hebrew Christian tradition, so that there are few, if any, marks to indicate the date of a given text. Scriptures were handed down by oral tradition for an indeterminable period of time before being committed to writing, and it is quite possible that historical references could have been changed, there it is, to suit the times as the oral form was handed down. And of course that happened. Of course that happened. Furthermore, a Buddhist monk writing in AD 200 would have no compunction in attributing his own words to the Buddha if he felt sincerely that they were an expression not of personal opinion, but of the supra-personal state of awakening to which he had attained. And how is it any different with the Bible? The writers of the Bible who went into a state. I mean, heck, all of Revelation was written by a dude that was tripping on an island in the Mediterranean, literally hallucinating. You see, you think he wasn't adding to that? I mean, come on, it's the same dude as one that's translating the Buddha's work. He would attribute the words to the Buddha, just like John the Baptist, or I should say, just like John of Patmos attributed his work to Jesus. Here's the same thing going on. He would attribute the words to the Buddha as speaking in a spiritual rather than material body. And all I do to show that to you is to show you that it doesn't matter from where you get whatever information you have, my friend, that has been passed down. It has been passed down. Do not get caught up in the eccentricities and details. Get the point and draw from that, which is exactly what the writers did. They got the point and they drew from it, which is what all that writing is. And we know that Zen can't be put into words. Do you see? Contradiction after contradiction after contradiction. That's life. That's life. It's full of contradictions. And it is going to be your discernment that will allow you to navigate through them, my friend. Because you cannot have an ontology. You cannot have an understanding of this wonder without contradictions. There's going to be contradictions, period. And it doesn't delegitimize it. It doesn't delegitimize it. It simply is, hey, this is how this person interpreted it, and this is how they wrote it down. But don't get caught up in the interpretation. Get caught up in what they were trying to write down and couldn't. Apophatic. Apophatic. Next slide. Page 31, the dual canons and the elaboration of doctrine. Watts deepens the historical fog by pinpointing original Buddhism is historically elusive. The Pali Canon predates the Mahayana Sanskrit Tibetan Chinese texts post 100 BC, but neither, here it is, neither capture Gautama's raw words. And how could they? How could they? You can't. The style is scholastic, repetitive, like jewels and gold obscuring Russian icons, as Watts wrote. Upanishad's poetic discourse contrasts this Pandit elaboration by the Shangha monastic order. And what is the Pandit Shangha monastic order? Right there, a Hindu scholar learned top right in Sanskrit and Hindu philosophy and religion, typically also a practicing priest. Okay, it's a scribe. There you go. Just like the Western has the same thing. Hindu Buddhist traditions lack Hebrew Christian historicity. Texts evolved orally. Dates are fluid. Attributions spiritual, not literal. And this is key. The attributions are spiritual, not literal. Don't get caught up in the words. A monk might credit the Buddha for expressing awakening insight, not personal opinion. This reveals a pattern. Truth transcends time, transcends ego, and it manifests through spiritual bodies. Namely, people that influence your life, that have enormous impact on your life. That's a spiritual body. Do you have someone in your life? Move here. Do you have someone in your life who has been that magical sage, who has been that individual that you met along the way, and they just had insight after insight after? It's like, my God, I thought I understood until I talked to this person. That is a spiritual body you're talking to. I know everyone is one. But the point being that it is their spiritual orientation that is coming, exuding through their body, namely their voice, that is bringing you a higher reality, a higher understanding. You see, and that's beautiful. Watts teaches that doctrines are vessels, not the wisdom they carry. You see, doctrines are vessels. They are not the wisdom they carry. And the wisdom they carry is what? The water. And then here we have the mind in the vessel, which is the air, changes to fit the needs of relevancy. And what is developing the relevancy? Earth. And this points beyond words to a direct experience, which is fire, transformation. Do you see how water, fire, earth, and air, you see, all work to bring you discernment and understanding called wisdom, simply by observing the words and considering them in your mind past the words that they are showing you. This is the deeper contemplation. This is the walking meditation. I think it's called Zazen. Don't confuse a figure with doctrine or you will become disillusioned. And that should be very obvious. I shouldn't have to explain it to you. Don't mistake a fire for form or you will get burned. Again, obvious pragmatism is showing you this stuff. And here's the heretical pro tip. Here we go. Now listen. This is important. Listen. The mind takes the shape of the vessel into which it is poured. Okay, it's like air. Your mind is air. It takes the shape of the vessel in which it is poured. This is your mind. You are better off having a mind or vessel formed by experience, relevancy, and merit, right? Wouldn't you rather have a mind or vessel formed by those than a mind formed by doctrine, words that you didn't write, opinions of someone else, theology, same thing, and entitlement? And what does every Christian think they are? The chosen one. Did you know Mengele called all of his children that he tortured the chosen ones? Did you know that? Did you know that the idea of the chosen one is actually a very dark thought and dark idea? It's belittling you into being a chosen one, and you're past that. Isn't it? Never mind, I won't say it. So, experience over doctrine, wouldn't you say? Wouldn't you say? Would you take the doctor that has been in school for 45 years and has never performed a surgery, but they've been in school studying surgery for 45 years? Or are you going to take the dude that's been doing surgery for 45 years hands-on, has tens of thousands of successful surgeries? Which one are you going to take? The one that's been in the book or the one that's been in the experience? You're going to take the experiential one. And if you take the book one only, I feel for your discernment. I'm concerned for your discernment. Experience over doctrine. Relevancy over theology. Just how relevant is the theological religious position of the Christian? Just how relevant is it to society? How does it fit into the Great Awakening? Because the Christian is waiting for the world to end. Total destruction. They're waiting to be saved. How is that relevant to a Great Awakening? Is it? No. Because the Great Awakening is on you. Not waiting to be saved, but you saving yourself. So you're a lot better off living a life of relevancy and saving yourself and being present in the now than a life based on theology and a presence from 2,000 years ago, my friend. Just how wide was the perspective of the disciples? Just how much did they know? Not even as much as you, pal. Seriously, not even as much as you. Do you really want to base your life then on their thoughts and impressions and ideas? Merit over entitlement. I mean, seriously, which do you respect more? The person who has merited their experience or the one that feels that they are entitled to it? You're going to take the one that merits it. This is why you never, ever, ever want to be a chosen one, because a chosen one doesn't merit their life. They live in expectation of it because they're a chosen one. They know. Right? Don't be like Mengele's servants. Do not be a chosen one. That's a little bit of hardcore theology for you, friend. All right, let me get out of that. Let's go to here. Or not theology, but truth, pragmatic truth. Sorry. Page 31, the dual canons and the elaboration of doctrine. Liquid heresy. Scriptures aren't verbatim. They're referential builds. Just like there is no need for a Jesus fixation, there is no need to fixate upon the Buddha. Again, these are forms, folks. They are forms. Do not fixate on the forms. Focus on timeless truth beyond their form. Look past the form. Look past the form. See to where the form is pointing. Reality transcends historical facts. Experience transcends law. Caged minds, religionists, theologians, scientists insist on linear timelines, historical forms, and absolute guarantees. This only confuses illusion as reality, right? Confuses it as meaning gets you tied into it. Belief as faith, again, not true. and guarantees as truth. There is no such thing as a guaranteed truth in a wonder. Right here, top right. There is no such thing as a guarantee in a wonder. Just in case you didn't know, that's what that JICYDK means. Just in case you didn't know, nature's a wonder. Did you know that? Nature is a wonder. Well, guess what you are? You're a nature creature. So what does that make you? That makes you a wonder. What does that mean? There's no guarantees. There's nothing to cling to, friend. Attempting to cling is fear. Do you want to live in fear? Why are you attempting to cling? Attempting guarantees is fear, anxiety. Why are you attempting guarantees in a wonder? Why are you looking for the sure deal, the sure thing? What are you doing trying to find that kind of comfort? What are you doing? That's not a life of emergence. That's a life seeking passivity. Do you understand why this is so important? The mindset it puts you on when you think you're a chosen one, when you think you're entitled, you think you deserve heaven, you think you believed right. What kind of a mind is in that state? An anxious mind, a grabby mind, a believing mind, an insisting mind, a fearful mind. Right on the front end. Pro tip, Christianity's historical literalism holds to time, does it not? Holds to it, grabby. But Zen's flexible wonder points to formless essence. There's no grab. And just on the common sense of it, do you want to be in the grabby mind or do you want to be in the releasing mind? Do you want to be a grabby kind of person or do you want to be a releasing kind of person? You know, what do you do with someone that you love? You release them. You don't grab them. You release them. What do you do with spirituality? You release it. You don't grab it. You don't find assurities. You don't find the sure thing. You don't find beliefs. Stop holding. You don't hold the spirit. There is no form there, friend. You're holding to illusions. Illusions. These are the deeper insights and principles available to us all. Next slide. Arrival of Buddhism, page 32. Seeing the forest of Upanishadic Hinduism. The danger of scholarship here on the left side, the danger of scholarship is always that in extreme specialization, it may be unable to see the forest for the trees. But the problem of gaining some idea of the thought of India, meaning Buddhism, at the time of the Buddha, 6 centuries before Christ, it is not to be solved by careful piecework alone, necessary as this may be. There is, however, enough reliable information to suggest the grand and beautifully ordered form of Upanishadic Hinduism if we do not read it with our noses against the page. Again, taking it literally. That's what he means by noses against the page. Taking it literally. Don't take it literally. These are metaphors fundamental to life and the thought of India from the very earliest times is the great mythological theme of Atma Yanja, the act of self-sacrifice whereby God gives birth to the world and whereby men, this is in the Upanishads, whereby men, following the divine pattern, and reintegrate themselves with God. The act by which the world is created is the same act by which it is consummated, the giving up of one's life, you see. God giving up life, you're giving up your own life. There's the parallel. There's the parallel, in case you didn't see it. The act by which the world is created, see? The act by which the world is, the world as you know it is created, is the same act by which it is consummated, united, the giving up of one's life, as if the whole process of the universe were a type of game in which it is necessary to pass on the ball. Remember I said it. I talk about the ball all the time. As soon as it is received, thought to thought to thought to thought to thought to thought, no obstruction. Thus, the basic myth of Hinduism is that the world is God playing hide and seek with himself as Vishnu, I can't read that word, or Brahma, the Lord under many names, creates the world by an act of self-dismemberment. Get the concept of that? Self-dismemberment or self-forgetting. Picture the ether in your mind. Self-dismemberment, the ether dismembering into material matter. You see, the self-forget, the ether no longer realizing it is itself, what it is. Look at the deeper metaphors going on here, whereby the one becomes many and the single actor plays innumerable parts. You see, this is God. The single actor playing innumerable parts, God becoming many. There it is. Straight out of the Upanishads. Do you see how Christianity leached information from this? In the end, he comes again to himself only to begin the play once more, the one dying into the many and the many dying into the one. And then there's some poetry. Question, top right, is God playing hide and seek, proportion death? Do you get that? Proportion death to create life? Any different than the self-sacrifice of Jesus, the dissolution of self in Buddhism, or dissolving into kenosis? Do you see? Self-sacrifice, the dissolution of self. There is no self. This is portion death. This is God relinquishing identity so to bring about new identity. This is the bigger picture here. This is absolutely stunning stuff we're walking into. Now follow this. We're almost done here. Or no? Yeah, we're about halfway. Page 32, seeing the forest of Upanishad Hinduism, always against scholarly myopia like fixation on absolutes, thus missing the wonder. That's what happens when you fixate on absolutes. You miss the wonder, which would be a bummer because the universe is a wonder and so are you. So it'd be a bummer. Watts advocated a holistic view of pre-Buddhist India's scholarly efforts by considering relevance over historicity. Reliable threads of written history revealed the grandeur of Upanishadic Hinduism, the myth of Atma Yajna, Atma Yajna, God's self-sacrifice God's self-sacrifice birthing the world, mirrored in human reintegration. You see where this is going? This is good. The universe is divine hide and seek. And this is what we've been talking about. The one, Vishnu, Brahma, dismembers into many. Now you see it, now you don't. Forgetting unity to play innumerable roles, then reunites. What are you doing in your life? You're playing a role and reuniting, folks. You're the Brahma. This cyclic game of now you see it, now you don't, demands passing the ball of life. And this is the embodiment of impermanence. That is one of the biggest truths that I can offer you in this slideshow. That pattern of embodied impermanence. The now you see it, now you don't. I mean, if you can get that concept in your mind, you will begin to release all these things that have been holding you in anxiety. Realization, you are embodied impermanence. You realize that. Then now you see it, now you don't principle that undergirds the ether. God is what undergirds you. This is your identity. This is where you find identity. Watts extracts the philosophy. Existence is playful illusion, the Maya, where multiplicity veils oneness. You see, you think when you're on this earth, you think everything's dismembered. It's not. Everything is one. It's costumes. It's God playing the many. You see, and it is Maya to think that illusion that you see is real. It's not. It's a spiritual expression, and spirituality has no form. It has density. And this is the deeper essence you extract when you embody impermanence, because there's no clutching, no holding on to your mind, your ideas, your finality. When you embody impermanence, you are embodying God, essentially. You are embodying the essence itself, the ether. Now you see it, now you don't. This is really heavy. I'm going to read you this myth here in a second. The next slide. Okay, continuing. This aligns seamlessly with the Tao's formless animation, the deeper persistence, which is what I like to call the deeper essence, the flow, the deeper persistence in all things, because that's what it is. It is a persistent push for life, freeing through fearless participation in consciousness expansion to rediscover the boundlessness of the now. Frees from what, Chuck? Right here where you see I have highlighted freeing. Frees from what, Chuck? Religious ceilings, blind obedience, fanatical adherence, unhinged conformity, ideological subversion. Why can I not get that out of the way so I can read it. Here, ideological subversion, narcissistic spirituality, inauthentic love, and conditioned grace. This is what you are freed from when you identify with the deeper persistence. When you identify with the flow, you see, you release yourself from all of these obstructions, Maya, illusions that you have put on what you think is the multiplicity, meaning that everything is separate. It's not. It's a multiplicity that is united into oneness. Do you see? And so these kind of things like a fanatical adherence and unhinged conformity, ideological, see, none of that exists when you understand this basic principle, that there's a deeper persistence within all things. And when you try and shape it with ideologies, with conformities, with fanatical adherence and obedience, you see, you destroy it. You destroy it. You destroy life. You become a destroyer of life, a hater of life, because you're trying to make it something to form into something you like rather than loving it for what it is. That's the model for marriage. And here's the myth. The myth of Atma Yajna, or self-sacrifice, draws from Vedic Hindu traditions, where the supreme consciousness, Atma, whoops, didn't mean to do that, the supreme consciousness, Atma, performs a primordial sacrifice by offering the Purusha, Brahma, to initiate cosmic evolution, bursting constrained space-time energy into an expanding universe, the Akasha. That's where the Akashic field comes from. The expanding universe, the Akashic field, manifesting visible creation from unmanifest potential, the monad, and we studied that in my nature series, in a process akin to the Big Bang, as detailed in the scriptures of the Upanishad. And isn't it interesting that science embraced a similar beginning as the Upanishad? Isn't that interesting? I find that so fascinating. This act, part of the 5 great sacrifices, symbolizes the debtor's duty of all beings to the universe through ongoing self-offering, internalized in rituals as mental fire, Agni, sustained by truth, leading to self-realization, where the sacrificer unites with the divine essence beyond external offerings. Philosophically echoed by figures like Gandhi, it portrays life itself as a perpetual yajna, continual sacrifice with objective. Isn't that interesting? A life of sacrifice with objective. Every act, a heroic inner sacrifice towards enlightenment and harmony with nature. And that's simply one of the Upanishads' understandings of the world. And isn't it beautiful how they mark their origin as you have a oneness that becomes the multiplicity, so that it forgets. It's this idea of God forgetting itself and becoming something else. And in many ways, isn't that a lot like what we're doing now? We're forgetting our old self, meaning we're putting that aside and we're becoming something else. We're becoming a different identity, meaning an identity past what we have always been locked within. Do you see that? And so we are going through a transformative process similarly to, and this should add epiphany to your life, similarly to the Upanishads and the beginning of life itself, the beginning of the universe itself. And we are in a similar moment now. Isn't that great? I think that kind of a connection is greatness. Let's go to comments. This is our last slide that we worked on. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 or 7 slides left, but I want to go to comments. I haven't been in comments in a while, so let's go there. Probably won't have a time to get to those other slides. So I am in comments now. Place any questions you have to me in all caps, and I am at the bottom. I am at the bottom. Yes, we are heretics. Yes, I'm a heretic. I'm not going to speak for you guys, but I am a heretic for sure. Yes. That's why the world is a paradise, Ritmi. The world is a paradise, not a purgatory. It became a purgatory when the society bought the egregores. So what we have to do is we have to stop believing the egregores and change our perspective, and that will form the world back into an expression of compassion, of perfection rather than purgatory. That's awesome, dude. That's awesome. I hope that's true. I hope you're not being sarcastic. I hope that's true. Yeah, there it is. Yeah, right on. Very true, Ripney. Very true. I'm not exactly sure about that, but I do know that Gnosticism subscribes to the idea that everything is a creation of the demiurge, which is a demon. So if that's your beginning structure from which you're going to build your life, that the world in your life and everything is from thee and is the creation of a demon, if that's going to be your start point, I mean, just how far are you going to go on that? How far are you going to get in your understanding of your formal understanding of who you are, if there can be such a formal thing? How are you going to do that? Starting with the idea, well, I was made by a demon. Atlas 3i. No, I don't have any update, but I do think it's part of disclosure, but we'll see. We'll see. This is interesting. Can't judge when we change our conclusions incessantly. That's an interesting thought, Shan. That's really interesting. Yeah. Interesting. It's just a good thought, I think. Update. Yeah, I don't have this here. I don't have an update with 3i Atlas because I think that it's just simply part of the disclosure thing that's going on. And I think it's just part of the puzzle. I think it's a lot of ways it's similar to some of the figures that we see that are having great influence on the direction of the world. I think it's just each component is just part and parcel of our transition. And it's not about so much about finding the exactness of what's happening, but getting a general picture of what's happening. That will help keep you out of cages of contradiction with other people and fighting, where you take a position of like, okay, I'm not going to have any final conclusion, but I'm going to kind of be steering sort of where I'm going in my mind based on what I'm observing, but being completely open to a new idea. And that might be why some of the feedback you're getting in chat, I'm hoping you weren't being sarcastic, is accepting of you, because that's what I encourage, which is tolerance. And I firmly believe that, or have faith in the fact that our diversity is our beauty. Our diversity is our beauty, and our diversity is to be celebrated, because there's nothing more stagnating than walking into a room of 20 people who all think, believe, and speak just like you, like a church, where they think and they all believe, think, and talk the same. That's called an asylum, right? You want to be in a space where people have new ideas, different ideas than you, contradictive ideas to you, because you can actually learn and grow in that space. You can actually hear things you would never hear in a space where everybody is just saying what they want to hear, which is what happens every Sunday morning at church. Happens every I won't say it. Okay. Yes, please thumbs up. Thank you. I'd appreciate it. Okay, so where was I here? I'm working my way down. I hope so. Esoteric. I so wanted it, but I don't know. And part of the issue is that I see, without a solar flash, without like a real sudden epiphany for people like that, that this thing is going to drag, man. That this thing's going to drag because it takes so long for people to wake up. It's tough like that. Yeah. Isn't that sad, Shan? Isn't that sad? It's like, how do you build an ontology? Like, let's say you're going to teach your child an ontology and you're going to show them a mythology, whatever. And you say, okay, now the first thing you need to understand is that you were made from a demon. You're the product of a demon. And the entire world and the whole universe is the product of a demon's mind and a demon's intent. Do you see how that is brainwashing and screwing people's brains and minds? Seriously. Total madness. Madness. Yeah, there's power in numbers. Thank you, Timothy Charles Barger. Thank you. There's power in numbers, dude. Sacred geometry, bro. Sacred geometry. Yeah, we are in a flux. I believe that the earth was captured. That's what I think. And that we were genetically modified into this, and that there is an episode right now to bring about a milieu or a situation whereby the society, the people, can save themselves through awareness, through water, through love. And we are in a flux state right now because we are moving from a captured state to a free state. That's what's happening right now. We're moving from a captured state to a free state. That's why you see the influx of pain and sorrow and horror worldwide, because we're in a flux. We're moving from this bloodbath state we were in to a self-awareness state. We're moving towards a larger and larger self-awareness. And so the transition between the two is bloody and nasty, even bloodier and nastier in many ways than the state we're coming from. And I just noticed my fingers are all yellow. I use essential oil on my fingers because my nails are all screwed up, and that's why they look like that. That's weird. Anyway, that's why they like that. It's essential oils. It's Christmas spirit, I think is what I use for beating the fungi. Okay. Yes, thumbs up, please. Thank you. I appreciate that very much, because more people need to hear this, folks. We need to spread this word, man. We do. There's a lot of people that need to hear this information, and it's important in understanding the greater situation that we're in. Half Gazo, I see 3-eye atlas as a sign of something. Yeah, it's just a part of the unfoldment. Yeah, and there's also nothing. Also, come on, go there. It's also nothing. It's both, because you're in a wonder. Learning to live by these non-grabby means. Okay. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's our power. That's why they've turned us against us, because when you're raised in a healthy society, diversity will be celebrated. That'll be celebrated. That'd be so. It's like if you've got a family and you adopt 2 kids. You got 2 kids that are your blood, and you got 2 kids that you adopted. Diversity is the strength of that family. There's nothing less about the adopted kids, or because they're not your blood, is there any less your kids? This kind of thing. None of that's true. Diversity is your power in that situation. And it's the same thing in life. I hope so. I want to exude that energy. I want that. Thank you, Stacy, for making that available to folks. Even though I don't have time to participate, it is great. We got a bunch of chat folks that hang out in Discord and Telegram. If you resonate with my chat group, or not my chat group, but the chat group, and you resonate with my work and so forth here, that's a lot of what goes on in that Discord and Telegram. And it would probably be a place that would bring you some insight, I would imagine, because the people that are running those really care. They really do. Stacy and those that are running all that stuff, they really care. They really do care, and that's why they're there. People are going to become unhinged as we go through the next few months. Belief systems crumbling. Yes, Gretchen. So glad to have this channel to help me stay grounded. Thanks, Chuck. You're welcome, Gretchen. I'm glad to be here, and that's what I want to be: is a voice of reason, a voice of balance, a voice of acceptance, a voice of being really present in the now. Thank you so much. I really sincerely appreciate that, Goose Mama. Thank you. Really appreciate that. Thank you. Yes, this is a good one. We are getting close to our termination point. It's in about 20 minutes. To get invited to Fridays, yeah, you all are welcome. And at Zoom, what we do is it's sort of just a little family gathering. There's usually about 30 to 40 of us. And people are free to ask me questions. I'm there, and I run the Zoom, and I am doing it because I want it to be like the same thing that happens at a university. So at a university, you'll take a class, and then oftentimes, if it's a good professor, they'll have little subclasses that they'll offer for free, that they'll volunteer to allow the students to go and get a more personal one-on-one time with the instructor, so that those who really are resonating with the instructor will have the opportunity to go and talk to the instructor, the one who is talking about this stuff, to get better clarification and to find out a deeper understanding. And that's exactly why I started Zoom. That's exactly why I started it. In fact, Fortune was the one who brought it up. But I started Zoom in order to have an option for everyone that goes to my Saturday night classes and has watched my videos, to have an option of face-to-face with me to ask your own personal question. That's why we have Zoom. And I love being there, and I love doing it. So if you want to go, you're welcome to go. This last week, we had Jenny on, my wife, and we answered and talked about marriage stuff. And it was great. So if you want to go, it's at 1 o'clock on Fridays, Seattle time. So that's when it's at. And yeah, you write me at, not the @ sign, but just contact Chuck Jr. at yahoo.com. And then we will be there every Friday at 1, for sure. Yeah, it would be. I would like the Flash because it would expedite this. The dragging of this out and watching the battles and wars and people hating each other and fighting each other and the media just, oh my God, convoluting everything. It's just madness. It's just madness. And we're just, I mean, oh, it is really painful to watch. And so, yes, that's why I was hoping for a solar flash and hope for a solar flash. Why are you going to miss me, love? What a carnage incoming. I hope you won't. I hope I'll be around. I'd love to be around. Yeah. Yes. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Here we go. Turning point only takes 3% of population. Yeah, that's what they say, Bob. That is what they say. I've heard that many times. I hope we're there. I do personally, me, Bob, I do think that 3% of the population has awakened to the idea of the Great Awakening. I do think that. I do think we got 3%. I do think we got 3%. So if that's what it takes, hopefully that will tip it. Okay. Yeah, we do. I'm right there with you. Yeah. Thank you, Stacy. If you would like to order a good hoodie or quarter zip from me, this is hand embroidery stuff. It's this. Here's a close-up of the stitching here. I'll show you one of my favorite ones is the red diamond or the red triangle. Where are we? Here. I mean, why isn't it focusing? Can I get it to focus here? Yeah. It's beautiful stitching. It's beautiful work. It's absolutely gorgeous. I wear this every day. I wear it all the time. I wear my gear every day. It's fantastic. I love it. It's all organic clothes and it's fantastic. So yeah, if you want to order one, shoot me an email. They're $300 with shipping and everything, including obviously the hoodie, and it's organic. So just so you know, and then I'm gonna have cheaper versions of everything printed on t-shirts and the like. But the hoodie is special. The hoodie and the quarter zip is special. It's really thick fabric. It's like a 7 or 8 or 10 gram fabric. It's really nice. It's really nice. William Bill Donahue. I think he's helpful in many ways. Yeah, I think he has some helpful things to say. I don't think that any of these people that have all this incredible information about so much stuff are 100%. I think that, part of the brain programming and mind programming and convolution that goes along with being involved and knowing about the KM will sometimes skew things, but that's okay. That's okay. Get the main point. Get the main point of what Bill was pointing towards, and that really was that we are in a controlled society. Everything is lies that we've been told. Our history is lies. Our medicine is lies. Our spirituality is lies. And that was really kind of the message that Bill was communicating. And again, look at where they're pointing, not at every finite word that they said. Get the point. And I hope you do the same with me. Don't listen to every word I say, but just get the point of where I'm pointing to. Yeah, exactly. I feel the same way. We're not walking into a folks, please understand. Please understand. We are not walking into just another version of the conflict-oriented societies that we came from. That's not where we're going. We're not going to the ending of the world in the sense of all humanity is dead and the planet is left as a rock and everything burning and smoldering. That's not where we're going. That's not where we're heading. It's fine. You want to believe that? Fine. Good luck with your ontology building on that principle. But that's not the principle I build my understanding on. My principle I build my understanding on is the human intellect, that inner sense, your humanness that comes out through love and compassion. And to me, these will win the day, because I personally think that love is the most powerful force in the universe. And that is what we were composed of. You've been taught to believe you're composed of sin. You're not. You're composed of love. You're composed of perfection. You're like a cloud. You ever seen a wrong cloud? You ever seen a cloud that forms incorrectly? No, not natural clouds. Natural clouds are perfect, just like you. Just like you. And you're a nature creature. You came out of the media, meaning the universe, the material matter, the illusion. And I talked about all of this in my nature series, how you pass through the energies coming to the earth, this whole thing. I laid all that out for you. You came out of the nature world, and the nature world birthed is the universe. You see? And so we are going to that space of the original intent, because the earth was captured. That's inorganic. The earth was captured and directed. You see, and we're moving back to the space where the only telos that exists for the human collective is from the human collective, not from an outside entity. Our vector, where we're going, and our future and destiny is going to be determined by us. And the more awakened we are, the greater that world will be so much sooner. But it all rests on our awareness. Just how aware are we? You see, that's why awakening this channel and other channels like this one are so important and need to be shared. It needs to be shared, because this will help people. This will help in our transition. Yes, we were modified. Yes, we were modified. It's our time. I should use a roach clip. I should use a roach clip for what? I've got a roach clip right here. It's my roach clip. I love my roach clip. It was handmade here. I got it from a local. Isn't that awesome? The feather broke off though. It used to have a really cool black feather. But this is my roach. Good times. I hang it on my bong. So it's all good. Okay. Hope Chuck sees you. I want to see Ben's question. Where's Ben's question? Where's Ben's question? I hope Chuck sees your question. Yeah, it's interesting. Where's Ben's question? I'll go above and see. I'll look for Ben. Ben. Oh, here. Is this it? Is this it? I'm about to be sent to jail for 2 to 12 months. I don't know yet. But how do I stay mindful and zen and focused on my growth, and also while helping raise others too? How do I stay mentally free? Meditation. If you're going to be going to jail, you're going to have a tremendous amount of time in a room. I would highly suggest meditating. In fact, I read a story once of a dude that was captured in Vietnam, and he was held in some type of Vietnamese prison for something like 10 years or something, 15 years. And he became like this freaking Zen master. He spent all his time in captivity in meditation, and he learned to travel outside his body, and he saw and experienced the universe. And this guy said it was the most transformative experience he's ever had in his entire life. So, what better place to begin a meditation practice than in a room you have to sit in for 18 hours a day or so? May as well go off planet and grow. I'm really sorry though that you're going to jail. I'm really sorry. I hope you're out soon. I'm very sorry that's happening to you. Yeah, bam, you nailed it, Clueless. You thought right ahead of me, love. You got it. You nailed it. That's it, Clueless. You got it. Meditation. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay, here we go. The Gospel of Thomas says that Jesus says the earth is a corpse, and this is true. Oil is the decaying blood of this planet. Interesting. Yeah. I mean, there's some good insight in the Gospel of Thomas. I've actually quoted Thomas, a number of times, especially in regards to Thomas the doubter, and how doubting accessed him to place his hand into the flesh of God. I know that's not in Thomas, but Thomas has a couple of verses, doggone it, I can't remember the reference. It's like verse 116, 114. Excuse me. Yeah, and it talks about how it says, man will look here and look there. What is the quote? Look here, look there, and man does not see it. Man doesn't see. Oh, I've gotten tied into it now. I've started to think about that, and I can't. It's going to confuse you guys. So I'll try and think of it and bring it to you later. But it's about seeing the world clearly in that verse in Thomas that I'm thinking of. I just can't remember it, so I'm sorry. I can't open it up for you, but I wish I could. Okay. Here we go. Part of the unfoldment. Sorry about that confusion, guys. I got tied into that Gospel Thomas thing. Part of the unfoldment. Grandmother, step in, tell the billionaire boys to sit in the corner, time out, and give us the toys and do some reflecting. Yeah, we're going to save the world, you guys. We are. We're going to rebuild the world. It's going to be beautiful. The Cathars were murdered because they said the God in the Bible was evil and men and women were equal. Interesting. Like I said, there are many pieces in many different belief systems, and there are some that are true and some that are not. Yes, it is growing. I agree. It is growing. Thanks, buddy. I appreciate that. Thanks, Craig. I appreciate that. I appreciate that very much. I feel, to be honest with you, Craig, I feel, and this is really where I'm at. I feel a tremendous amount of responsibility in what I'm doing now. I have realized through the letters that I've received and the communications that I received from you guys that what I'm doing is really big. And I've even had some people write me saying that they've like left their job and left their life because of some of the stuff I've done. And that's a huge thing. And that's why I feel a tremendous amount of drive to present these to you. And so, yeah, thank you. I hope I don't look too tired, but I'm doing fine. I'm doing fine. My wife is very supportive and loves me, and that really helps me for sure. So it's all good. Yeah, it is true. Now, see, here's the thing, Ben. Here's the thing. This is all part of the meditation. This is the way Alan taught meditation. Is he said, don't go to any kind of extent to find a quiet room. Don't go to any kind of extreme to try and find a quiet landscape. Just meditate right there where you are. Right there as life is right now. Don't try to make any special kind of arrangement. Learn to meditate in the midst of all the chaos and craziness. And this will hone and sharpen your meditation skills. And it's hard to do, Ben. It will be challenging for you, my friend. It will be challenging for you. But what a great way to spend your time. Another great one is reading. I don't know if they allow books in there. I've even heard some places allow phones and so forth, but it would give you an opportunity to do a lot of good reading in there by having that much time, forced time on your hands. Thank you. I appreciate that, friend. Appreciate that so much. I really do. We're almost out of time here. Okay. Yeah, this is the email. That's the email. Contact Chuck Jr. at yahoo.com. That's the, then thank you for being here, friend. That is real sacrifice to be right there at 4 a.m. I am so sorry to screw up your day. Thank you for taking the time to be here. And just so you know, if it becomes too much being up this late, you can watch the recording. And if you have questions, come to Zoom or send me an email and I'll read it in Zoom or I'll read it here, whatever you want. If you can't make another appointment with me here. So I'm really sorry it's 4 a.m. there, but thank you for staying up. That means a lot. Yeah, I did. I answered the incarceration question. Yes, I did. I said to him the best way he could spend his time there is through meditation. And it would be a good idea to become a meditation master. Because, I mean, if you've got 18 hours a day for 2 to 12 months, you're going to make some strides in that time. You will make some meditative strides, my friend. You will be shocked at what can be accomplished. You know, Scientology's bad news, man. That's bad news. That's the, what is that guy? The, what is that? Dianetics. That's the Dianetics guy. And that guy was hardcore into the KM and Satanism. He really was. Big time. It's not a good thing. That would be interesting. That would be interesting. Interesting idea. Okay. 2:45 p.m. now. Nice. Are you in Australia? My Australian friends got the really nice time, man. It's a Sunday morning at 10 when I come on. 10, 11, 12. 1. Yeah, so I bet you're near Australia. Yeah, it does. Yeah, please do. My Rosicrucian videos will really help you see Hermeticism. And that Rosicrucianism is actually quite a legit belief system. And though I don't, fully subscribe to or anything, it has some awesome points in it. I mean, that series had some amazing factoids, and it will really bring you to speed with the West, with the Western ideas that came out of Hermeticism and Thoth, the work of Thoth. I was going to do more on Thoth in the series, but just didn't have time. But that all comes out of that Egyptian Hermetic. What's the third? Egyptian Hermetic alchemical ideas of the world. Yes. So Rosicrucian, the Rosicrucian series is awesome. And I think it's only 10 videos. So not bad. Totally reasonable. Good. I'm glad to hear it, Ben. We love you, buddy. Please come back when you get out. I'm so sorry you're gone. We care about you. Please come back. I would love to hear what you learned when you were there. If you want to come back, I would love to hear what you experienced and the things that you brought back from your time there. Yeah, in many ways, it has been turned into a corpse. Yes, it is. But we, the human population, is going to revivify it. Watch. Not 3% in Quebec. Yeah, I hear that. I hear that. I hear that. Yes, I hear that. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. She does an incredible job. It's great stuff. It's great stuff. We're about done, guys. It is 8 o'clock. You guys got any last words before we go? Yeah, here we are. Remember, the strategy is divide and conquer. We all have more in common with each other than with the 1% who will do anything to control us. Yeah. 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 That's really where I land, Miss Red. That's really where I land. Even like the dedicated stuff, like even sometimes stuff that Alan will say, I'll be like, you know what, I'm not into that. Some of his stuff can be a bit male chauvinist. Alan was still in the 50s and 60s when he was doing a lot of his work, and there can be a little male chauvinism there. And so whenever he gets into that kind of thing or goes in that direction, I just like, throw it in the garbage. Don't believe everything anyone says. Seriously, don't. Have your own opinions. Throw out the stuff that doesn't resonate, and the stuff that does, integrate it. Yeah, I try to make it that way. I try to make it not like a glass, like a echo chamber. Yeah, Professor Yang has some good things to say. Cliff High does too also. Yeah, Bill, Robert Seffer. Yeah, those are good names. Those are good names. I don't know a lot, to be honest with you. I don't know a lot. I have not done a lot of study of the old worlds. I've just kind of touched on them in my history. Touched on them in my astrotheology and Rosicrucianism and stuff and nature. But I haven't really dug into that stuff, to be honest with you. Fear of the other is how they channel your fear to dissipate your energy. Yes. Otherwise, direct against them. Yes. Yes. That's awesome, dude. Or ma'am, that's awesome, Maria. Bill Donahue helped me tremendously when I was so confused about the realization that religion was not the way to go. Yeah. He's great with that. Bill's got some great things to say about religion for sure. Part of the unfoldment, basic and simple. Grandmother step in, tell the, we already read that. Okay. Would love to hear what you're meaning by that, half Gazo. Looks like you guys are good. We'll end with the Alan Watts thing I started with because it's so good. It's so good. That's in all caps, so it must be for me. Thank you, Shan. Thank you so much, Shan. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much. Okay, let me go to the new comments at the very bottom. Yeah, that love is the end all be all. Yeah, that's it. That's where I land. Love you guys so much. I think we're gonna wind it up. Okay, so next week we got a few slides. Let's look at what we got next week. So tonight we ended on the quote, or on the myth. So next week I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 slides to build on. So I'll make another 15 or 20 this week. So all good. So we'll continue in our Zen study. I'm going to play the Zen intro I started with for those that came late and didn't get to see it. It's really good. Robert Monroe has some good things to say about who we are and why we're here. And then Alan talks about the importance of being headless. So it's a good time. But this has been outstanding. Thanks for being here, everybody. Thanks for coming. We will do the same thing, same time next week. Saturday at 5 o'clock. We'll be starting again a little bit earlier because of the need to play the second half of the tape from Alan that I'm playing in this first one. And then also, don't forget, if you are interested in my swag, so send me an email and I'll be happy to order one for you this week. I'm going to get all the orders in together. And in the meantime, I'm going to get this t-shirt thing straightened out because I'm really getting annoyed with this. And I'm about at my end in my patience with that because it has been months now and there's no reason for it to continue. So I'm going to figure out a way to get the t-shirts out. But for those of you that can afford the embroidery, I'd love to place an order for you for the hoodie. They're coming a quarter zip and then the hood itself like a real hoodie. But remember, the hood will hang down and cover up a little bit of the insignia in the back if you get a hoodie. So the quarter zip won't do that. But just so you know, that detail. Love you guys so much. Thanks for being here. Thanks for taking the time. We will finish up now with some Alan Watts. See you guys soon.
Bob, given what you've been saying, what is the purpose of our playing here? What are we here for?
Well, that's absurdly easy. And I say absurd because it's so apparent once you begin to look at it with what I call a different overview, from another perspective. Look at it. It's best described as you come here as a vortex of energy, and I might add as an alien to this Earth life system. You don't belong here, so you try to change it. Humans try to change it. They don't like the way trees are planted, so they plant them in rows when this system says do it this way, and they want it in a nice straight. That's typical of humankind. But why do we come to this thing we call the Earth and live on Earth and be human? Very, very fascinating but obvious answer. And the more you look at it, the more obvious it becomes to you. And that is that you came here to learn. Now, what did you come to learn? These are nice, neat questions. What did you come to learn? You came to learn a measurement system. This is a system of opposites, of polarities. And we quickly give them labels like positive and negative, good, bad, these kinds of things. We learn this measurement system, very important. We learn it, the system of measurement. And a great system of measurement that we learn is pain, pleasure. And we know, how in the world could you know pleasure if you didn't know pain? The most boring thing that you could do is have a very even life with no pain or no pleasure. You couldn't stand it. You've got to have these, and we search for those pain and pleasure things. We go out of our way to do it. So if you think in terms of the whole concept of living here to learn measurements, now that's the first. The second is very interesting, is that you learn to manipulate energy. I move my arms like this, my hands, I move my eyes and so on. I'm manipulating energy to do that. That's a use of 5 or 6 types of energy that let me move my arm. And we learn these very automatically. And I can tell you from deep personal experience that simple ability that we take so much for granted, of learning to manipulate energy, is incredibly valuable in other energy systems. You'd be amazed how much value that we think are ordinary things. Keeping your balance, for example. We automatically learn how to stay balanced in this gravitic pattern. But over there, it's wonderful. You can use these kinds of things. So these are the two key things, but the most important thing of all. We came and we come here to learn and acquire an intellect. It's strange. An intellect. We acquire, intelligence is not enough of the word, an intellect, an analytical ability. We come here to learn that. We use the metaphor left brain. We learn to acquire a left brain by living here and being here. That's the real valuable tool that we come and pick up. So you think that combination puts together a being that is a super being, and that's true.
Now, this morning I was giving you a talk on the fundamental basic attitudes expressed in Lao Tzu's Tao Te Ching. And the title of the book, Tao Te Ching, introduces now the second word in the title. I've been dwelling this morning on the first word, which is Tao, and so comes up this second word, De. And this word, again, faces us with some serious problems of translation. Ordinarily translated virtue. But virtue, as we understand it today, isn't at all appropriate. The nearest kind of... when we speak of the healing virtues of a plant, that's nearer to the meaning of this word, de. The Japanese pronounce it toku, the Cantonese dak, and the northern Mandarins approximately de. And in the section of the Lao Tzu where this is really introduced, the text says something like this: superior virtue, not virtue, thus it has virtue. Inferior virtue, can't let go of virtue, thus not virtue. And we more or less paraphrase that by translating, superior virtue is not conscious of itself as virtue, and therefore it is virtue. But inferior virtue is so hooked up with being virtuous, or hooked on being virtuous, that it's not virtue. Now then, therefore, this word is a connection of virtue and magic. It means the excellence of things, in the sense that a tree excels at being a tree, and nobody really knows how it does it. There is no way of imitating a tree, except the only thing is to be one. And so in the same way, when a human being shows extraordinary skill at something, it seems that it comes natural to him. It seems that he doesn't achieve it by any kind of artificiality. If there is some discipline in it, it's concealed. So, excelling in something naturally, and yet it's something that is so difficult to understand that it seems that it has been done by magic, is the meaning of this word. So what de is the state of affairs, a way of talking about particularly a human being who has learned to live in harmony with the Tao. Now, of course, everything is fundamentally in harmony with the Tao. In the book called the Zhongyong, or the Unwobbling Pivot, it is said, the Tao is that from which nothing can depart. That from which things can depart is not the Tao. Fundamentally, you see, you can't get away from it. It's like a situation in which we are all floating in a tremendous river. And the river carries you along, anyhow. Now, some of the people in the river are swimming against it, but they're still being carried along. Others have learned that the art of the thing is to swim with it. And they're carried along too. But they know it, you see. They know they're carried along, whereas the people who are swimming against it think they're going in the opposite direction. But they're not really. So that was a sort of discussion we were having this morning, when I find invariably, whenever I talk about these things, Americans raise moral issues because we are a people incredibly bamboozled by preachers. And so this always comes up. Bamboozled. Preachers. Yes. And have chronic guilty consciences. And so those questions are always raised. But this, you see, explains part of this situation. That you have to flow with the river. There is no other way. But that you can swim against it and pretend not to be flowing with it, but you still are. So, but a person who is not making that pretense anymore, who knows that you have to go with the river and swim with it, suddenly he acquires behind everything that he does the power of the river. The person swimming against the river, you see, does not by his action express the force of the river. The person swimming with it, he goes along and he has that whole river behind him, but he's subtly directing it, because you can change direction in the course of the river. You can go to the left or to the right, as a ship can use a rudder and still go along with the current, or more skillful still, as a sailboat can tack. Because when a sailboat tacks and goes in a direction contrary to the wind, it still is using the wind to blow it along. Now that is the most highly skillful art of all. That is Taoism in perfection, the art of sailing. Very intelligent. I remember once I was looking in the open air, and one of those glorious little thistledown things came, and I picked it up like that and brought it down, and it looked as if it was struggling to get away, just as if you caught an insect by one leg, like a daddy long legs or something of that kind. It seemed to be struggling to get away, and at first I thought, well, it's not doing that. That's just the wind blowing. But then I thought again, really? Only the wind blowing? Surely it is the structure of this thing which, in cooperation with the existence of wind, enables it to move like an animal, but using the wind's effort, not its own. It is more intelligent being than an insect, in a way, because an insect uses effort. Like a person who rows a boat uses effort, but the man who puts up a sail is using magic. He lets nature do it for him with the intelligence to use a sail, you see? So in just this way, the meaning of de is that kind of intelligence which, without your using very much effort, gets everything to cooperate with you. You, for example, never force other people to agree with you, but you give them the notion that the idea you wanted them to have was their own. This is a feminine art. preeminently. A woman who really wants a lover does not pursue him, because then most men feel that she's aggressive. And if she's aggressive, she obviously is a woman who has had difficulty in finding lovers, and therefore there must be some undesirably secret thing about her. But if she, as it were, makes a void, then, and is slightly difficult to get, then people get excited. They know she's a highly prized object, and so they pursue. Same way, when you want to teach a baby to swim, the thing you can do is to put the baby in the water, and then move backwards in the water and create a vacuum. And this pulls the baby along. It helps it to learn the feel of the water and how to swim. It's the same principle. So, also, clever, difficult to getness is one of the very best means of acquiring immense publicity. Let's take the case of T.E. Lawrence, who published The 7 Pillars of Wisdom in a limited edition. And this became an extraordinarily celebrated book. It cost hundreds of dollars a copy to find one, on the market. And they waited and waited and built this up and built this up and built this up, and finally they published the general edition. And it was a knockout, because the first one had been sort of secret and difficult to find. If you have patience, you see, you can always do this. So the whole art of the ruler, you see, the Tao Te Ching is a book written for several purposes. You may take it as a guide to mystical understanding of the universe. You may take it as a dissertation on the principles of nature, almost a naturalistic, a handbook of natural law, we would say. Or you may also take it as a political book, a book of wisdom for governors. And the principle which it advocates, basically, is the virtue of governing by not ruling. Look at it in this way. Supposing the President of the United States were as unknown to you by name as the local sanitary inspector, the man who looks after the drains and the sewage disposal and all that kind of thing. This is not a glamorous figure, you see. But for that very reason, he probably does his job more efficiently than the President, because the President wastes enormous amount of time in interviewing various groups from the Elks and the Girl Scouts and conferring honors and all this kind of thing. The poor man's life must be an utter torment, because he's so well known and therefore has absolutely no time to give to the government of the country. I mean, think of his mail and all the people who have to be employed sifting that out and assessing it, so that if he were someone quite anonymous and that we didn't have to think about it, he would be a very, very good ruler. In just the same way, for example, you don't have to attend, unless you're sick, to the government of your own body. It happens automatically. This is this expression, ziran, of itself, and it goes on day after day after day, and the better it is, the less you have to think about it. When you see well, you do not see your eyes. If there is something wrong with your eyes, you start seeing spots, and those spots are spots in your eyes. When you hear well, you'd never hear your ears. But when they start singing, you know, then you're starting to hear your ears, and your ears are getting in the way of their own hearing. So on the deepest level, a person as a whole can get in the way of his own existence. by becoming too aware of himself. And then he lacks this quality, de. Now, the Taoists then propose that there be something to help people get back to Tao and to be able to be in a state of de, so that they wouldn't get in their own way. And this is connected with the idea of being empty. Emptiness, being somehow vacant, was the secret of the thing. The highest kind of knowledge is not know-how, but know-how, N-O-H-O-W. To be able to do it know-how, without any method. To achieve this, something is practiced which is called fasting the heart. The heart, in Chinese, is a word which doesn't mean heart in the physiological sense. You see, it's part of the De character. Shin. It's usually located about here. And it means heart-mind. It's equivalently translated as mind. And in all the Zen texts where the word mind is used, no mind, mushin, it is this character. The psychic center. Now, the best kind of heart is absence of heart. In English, the word heartless has a very bad connotation, as does the word mindless. A heartless person is an inconsiderate, unfeeling person. A mindless person is an idiot. But a person who has mushin, or no mind, or no heart in Chinese, is a very high order of person. It means that his psychic center doesn't get in its own way. It operates as if it wasn't there. Zhuangzi says that the highest form of man uses his shin like a mirror. It grasps nothing, it refuses nothing, it receives but does not keep. And the poem says, when the geese fly over the water, and they are reflected in the water, that the geese do not intend to cast their reflection, and the water has no mind to retain their image. So, the whole thing is, you see, to operate in the world as if you were absent.